Alrighty, everyone. There's 4 blokes here on the couch at Grappling Education.
Namaste.
So Bobby Sandhu, who's been on the podcast before, Jeremy, it's been a few years since he's been on the podcast.
It's been a couple of years. Good to be back.
And then we've got Freddie.
That is me.
Freddie Daniels. Is that right? Freddie
Yes.
Daniels?
Well,
Yes.
Frederick, but everyone
Frederick.
says Frederick. Yeah.
So originally, I said to Jeremy after we finished class here, and I said, "Oh, do you want to jump on a potty?" And then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go home." And then we started talking, and it's like, "Oh, bloody hell! Like if we're going to talk, we might as well just record a podcast." So here we are, boys. How's everybody going?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I just want to confirm, what sort of coffee did you say you wanted?
Just a cap. Yeah,
Just a cap?
cappuccino.
Jeremy's
So
shouting
3
everyone
caps and
coffee.
a latte for myself.
God bless his heart.
So, okay, I guess, let's probably start with ADCC, upcoming 8 weeks. Bobby's posted that, he's going to have to double scoop the creatine. I sent him a message. I said, you're probably going to have to triple scoop it. But so, you obviously spent a bit of time overseas again. You've come back. What's it been? It's probably been almost a year since we last spoke.
That's right. Good old Sydney West. We sat down last time, had a chat. I think I said I was going to do a bunch of things I didn't go and do, but it's good. It's been well. I spent about 6 months back at the B team. Love the people there. The community and shit. It's fucking phenomenal. Great city. Lots of cool comedy developments too. Rogan's Club is up and in full swing.
That's the mothership, right?
The comedy mothership. Yep. Yeah, the guys weren't competing as often when I was there, if I recall. It's hard to recall, honestly. My time in Texas, it feels like a bit of a dream usually.
And it's not because you're currently too high at the moment to
Whoa!
Whoa.
Accusations of drug use.
It's begun already.
I competed a bunch though.
I just meant high on life, Bobby.
Yes. I had like 22 matches. I don't think I've ever
22.
competed so frequently before. And it's something I've heard from a lot of different guys over the years. I think John said things like that. Giles encouraged compete as much as possible.
You had a lot of super fights and things like that over there. You did a lot of like Thursday night Jiu Jitsu and things like that too.
Which is the awesome, amazing thing about Austin. If you're in a city that's, for Jiu Jitsu, you could compete 3 times a week. There were so many
it's
little
crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Thursday night Jiu
consistently.
Jitsu, Friday night fights, Saturday strangler cunt. Like there's just...
Well, they've got like...
Okay, I made that one up.
But there's like main character jiu-jitsu that's on,
That's right.
Enigma, then you got all like the ADCC Opens that have been happening all over Texas at the moment. They're having them in like Houston, Dallas, Austin. They got one coming up soon.
Opens, yeah.
Like, so there's just like so many opportunities to
The
compete
Austin
there.
one will be sick.
B team was holding those like in-house competitions as well, weren't they?
Not very
They had a couple of them,
Yeah,
but
they
like they do like small brackets and stuff like that. I remember when I was there, they did one in-house where Liam Olpang, where's he from?
Yes.
Is he
Sweden.
Swedish, yeah. So he won his division there, like a couple of quick heel hooks. So like there's just heaps of opportunities to compete on like a bunch of different events and just get a lot of exposure.
Absolutely. So many powerhouse gyms.
Have you got any super fights coming up, Bobby?
I do. I have a Lions Den black belt.
What event's this on?
This is Martial Arts Invitational, Bernardo Treco's event.
Oh, is that going to be down in Wollongong?
It's so funny. So I put a story up. I was like, I'm coming to Wollongong. We're going to do a competition. And I was like saying all this stuff, like book me for privates and do this. Then the event organizer messaged me. I even messaged the gym. The Wollongong gym, we always got a garage. And the guy's like, bro, this is not in Wollongong. This is in Sutherland. So luckily, it was 24 minutes. I had 24 minutes to delete everything. Luckily, no one really messaged me to tee shit up. I was like, oh my God, I'm cooking it.
So, okay, for people that don't know Freddie, Freddie, you're going to have to share a little bit of your story, but it's funny because Jude was like bailing me up about this story about your dad, and then he told me, it's not 100% correct or something. I don't know. What
My father's a very interesting character. I love my father. He is a great man. But actually, speaking of Wollongong, he has business down in Wollongong. My dad used to work down at the Fever nightclub. I'm not sure if the nightclub is still open, but yeah, he used to be one of the head honchos there. And many stories from my father about that club when I was growing up. I was growing up when I wasn't exactly legal to go into the club, but a lot of stories from that club, bikie gangs, all this stuff. But yeah, my dad's a very interesting character. He's very like, he seems to always be in some sort of a court case. I don't know why, but he's always in some sort of a court case. It can be over the smallest thing to the biggest thing. I'm like, how do you get yourself in these scenarios? He's like
Career criminal.
Yeah. I'm hoping that doesn't rub off on me, but
You're both Ukrainian.
yeah.
In your blood.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. But yeah, my dad, he owned a nightclub and
Owned it.
Well, yeah, it's
Well,
kind
laundered
all
money
of
through
the
it.
facts of it.
it's kind of it's thin waters. It's thin waters.
It's a
on what
crazy
exactly it
place
is.
to be living and working. A fucking nightclub.
Yeah, it is 100%.
Most people
bro.
that say one-off, that's your bread and butter.
That's your
I
job.
know. I know.
He saw,
At
his
the
dad
door.
saw
You
the
guys ever work
degeneracy
in
and he
a
doubled down
bar
on
or
it.
a club? You ever work?
Yeah, I did heaps of bartending.
Where?
What, really?
Like, in London, I was there for like
Wow, I had
6
no idea.
months. Yeah, like
Wow.
worked at like a bunch of different places, like doing
How old
like
were you?
fashion shows, like the O2 Arena, stuff like this.
Damn.
Working like the Rolex booth at like the Pro Golf like
Wow.
tour, like at the it was like the finals or something like that.
And I
Yeah.
thought you were just a barista.
They have many talents.
One of the first times I saw Jeremy in a professional setting working, he was going away, and he needed someone to do his job at a cleaning company or something for a couple of weeks. Jeremy initially told me, he goes, "Look, potentially there might be a longer term position for you if you do well." Anyway, they didn't offer me any long term positions.
Did you actually do the work, Bob?
So the very first day I was supposed to start,
Jeremy's shaking his head already.
I had to be there at like something stupid in the morning, like 9 a.m. or something, you know. And I was like, "Fuck it, I gotta get up."
Normal starting time for any sort of career.
I get up at the dawn of fucking day. So I'm up and I'm driving down and I'm like, "Fuck, what am I doing?" Cleaning. I came here to be a Jiu Jitsu starter in Melbourne, you know. I'm driving and I remember I stopped at the lights and I would use my phone as a navigation tool. And I'm staring at the navigation and I hear something like a tapping on the window. And I'm like, what the I look up, female police officer. She's on a bike. And she gets me to put my window. I put my window down. She points at my phone. She says to me, $150 GPS will be cheaper than a $400 ticket.
Whoa.
And I just put the lock screen up and I was like, she let me go and I was like, thank you, you know. Anytime a fucking person has you in a position of power,
Yeah, you just
you
go
gotta
with
like, I'm like, you're beholden to, you're trying to cross immigration something, you're totally beholden to some other person who has some kind of judicial authority all over you.
it. Yeah.
And it's totally their individual discretion
Wow.
as to the fucking course of your life from that point on.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, like, if that bitch gave me $400 fine, my 7 a.m., all the fucking shit, how many shifts would I had to work to get that fucking
Yeah.
$400?
Yeah, this actually reminds me of a time.
Also, that's trolley, I didn't steal it. I got accused of stealing something
hang
in
on.
that workplace.
We
I
missed
want
the
to
whole-
say to the public, I didn't steal anything. I've never
Okay.
committed
We need
theft.
to hear
Yes.
Jeremy's version of events.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the sketchiest people I've ever met in jiu-jitsu, and he claims he didn't steal a trolley.
What?
That disappeared
What?
the moment that he started working
I
that job.
come from a religious family.
And it has not rubbed off on
My
you.
pop was a temple president. Lied to sick.
Yeah, and it has not rubbed off on
How
you.
dare you, Jeremy? How
So,
dare you?
what kind of a trolley was this? Was this
It's just just a normal trolley for
Fuck,
like moving
trolleys.
like just like for carrying like large boxes.
Do you know
around
how
and
many
things like
trolleys go
this,
missing
just
a
like-
year? 300 plus trolleys go missing.
Not
a
in
year.
our business.
That a
Turns
fact?
out it was only once in 3 years.
the first time in 3 years? There
What do you
go.
think? I sold a trolley? What am I?
No,
a
I think
meth
you just
junkie?
kept it.
No. Why
Like the
would I
same
keep
reason
a
why
trolley?
degenerates take trolleys from shopping centers. Do you think they actually need it?
Unbelievable.
No, they just take it because they can.
Well, we used to. Oh, well, okay. People used to kick out the handlebar, the bars, and trolley poles were a good weapon back in the
Jeremy's
in the age when I
OCD is
was
kicking in.
when I was growing up. We're just going to turn off the timer, but yeah. So, Freddie, you didn't finish telling us about your dad running this Fever nightclub.
Yeah.
So, what did you see? What do you remember seeing as a kid being
Yeah.
allowed into these places?
I learned a lot of lessons, honestly, from my father running this nightclub. I feel like he instilled me very good, like, the basics of, like, who to fuck with and who not to fuck with. Like, what sort of people you kind of want to avoid
Who
versus
to get
not
fucked
to.
by?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he taught me a lot of things in that regard. He also told me a lot about women during that time. A lot of good things about women. A lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily
Like that you
agree
should
with.
wear their shirts.
Yeah.
Freddie has changed.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
people watching the podcast, if you're listening, you can't see, but he was wearing probably like a size 8 girl's shirt. I
Yeah,
believe.
it was my partner's shirt. Yeah, she had left that in
It
my
looked
bag.
like it was your partner's shirt.
Yeah. So my dad would be a very interesting character. My parents divorced at a young age, and my dad, every now and again, I'd stay with him in Wollongong, and he would just like, I'd be in like my room that I had, and every now and again, I just hear like he would lock my door. And I'd be like, okay, I'm staying here now. I'm not
What?
exiting.
What, just lock your bedroom door?
Yeah, he would lock
From the
my
outside?
Yeah, from the outside, and then I'd be like, okay, so this means that I'm not moving
Something's
here for
going
like
down.
2-3 hours, and then he'd probably have like, I don't know, women or something coming into the house, and then I'd talk
That's
about
a bit fucked up.
yeah. But honestly, it was quite amusing when I was a kid. Like, my dad was like a very entertaining character. He has like a signature move. My dad has probably the loudest click you'll ever hear in your life. Like, he has
Wow.
big, thick fingers.
Wow.
Very loud click, right?
Wow.
And in public, every time he walks past a woman that he finds attractive, he would like click by their hip, and they jump. Like they jump, right? And he'd laugh his ass off. Like my
These
father.
startling bitches
Yeah.
throwing flashbangs at him.
Yeah.
Cower, bitch. Cower.
Yeah. My dad is a very, very amusing character.
You
Like,
managed to find like the worst possible use for being able to click your fingers.
yeah, literally. Like he has the loudest
that
click
is
you'd ever
literally true.
imagine, and he would just bang, click, and they would jump, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, like he's startling people. Like he said,
Wow,
flashbang.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so my dad, that's probably why growing up I was a little bit of a shithead.
Some people can whistle. Have you ever heard of?
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
I can't whistle.
I
all
can't
day.
whistle at all.
But some people, they do this. They curl their tongue,
Yeah,
and there's a method. It is such a loud volume and pitch wise
yeah.
noise.
I can't click or whistle. It's like I'm lucky I got good at jiu-jitsu because I have no capabilities for anything else.
Yeah, I can't.
But look,
That's a pretty decent click.
That's a pretty good click. I can't even do that.
I actually, a bad habit I picked up from my father was clicking at waitresses. Dude, he's always click like this, and I'd be like, oh,
That's
and,
so
and I'd
fucking
start
rude.
clicking. It's so rude, right? But anyway, I feel like I'm just shitting on my dad. I love you, Dad. You're the best. Like, he does so much for me. But anyway,
But he just like hates women and
no.
waitresses. and-
No, it's quite the opposite, Jeremy. He loves.
He
women.
loves women with a passion. That's why he's.
He
trying-
loves women, but he doesn't like them.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, that probably when I was younger, probably instilled a bit of. I had a very big ego, like growing up, like a little bit of an arsehole, if I would say myself. Jiu-jitsu humbled me a little bit.
Not enough.
Clearly
I've
not,
never met a
clearly
man
not
who's
enough.
so confident on opinions that are based up, like backed up by zero facts
Yeah,
or
that's
research.
that's true. Well, they're facts in my mind. I mean, that's all that really matters to me. If I oppose it as a fact, it's a fact in my mind. That's all I have to worry about. But yeah, Jeremy does. Jeremy's teaching me the ways of being a better man, a better student. I look up to him. He's my.
Wow.
He said I either call him Jeremy or Dad. So he's my
Oh,
father
yeah.
figure.
Oh, there you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
The
a
father
it's
you always wanted but never had.
It's going to be a Star Wars moment, though. It'll be one of those.
yeah.
I am your father, Freddy.
Yeah.
Today I actually, and I never do this, I beeped at someone.
Oh yeah.
This guy just merged in front of me, and it was a taxi driver. And I just did a short chop, and I was like, whoa, this is now, I'm breaking the mold of my regular behavior.
Wow.
Generally, I'm somebody, if you ask me, my behavior would tell you I'm a person who doesn't road rage. Today, for whatever reason, bang. And I'm like,
Isn't it really common in India, like just to beep the horn a lot, like, but not
Yeah.
even like
Yep.
to like be like, hey, dickhead, like, what are you doing? But like, let trucks know that like you're
Yes.
behind them. Like, it's
Yes,
really common
yeah.
just to regularly beep and like just
when
like to
when
signal.
when you're overtaking them, you give them a little
Absolutely.
bit.
Yeah, just
to
like
let you know
signal
you
to
come up the
people
side.
that like you're there.
well, there's like here when they design the traffic system, right? They have like some methods and
gonna get
techniques
Yep.
of figuring out like this should be the speed limit, whatever. In India, some guys just fucking just pointed at a patch of dirt. This is the fucking road.
Yeah.
That could be some razor pin, and there's
Yeah.
a billion cunts running around.
Yeah. In
So
Thailand as well, man.
Staying safe is a whole different.
Yeah.
You could get collected, bro. Some guy's got a truck. He's got a tractor, and he's got all this farming equipment, like spikes and shit on the side of it. You're on a motorbike.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his lights on. Bang. People aren't going to call the cops. It's a whole
No, it's
different place.
Yeah, well, I think when you get to that level of population, it becomes almost like it's a personal responsibility. You know, you got to look out for yourself, and that's all you can look out for. If you were to try and look after all the other people around you, there's a billion of them. Like,
Yeah.
when are you going to look after yourself? You get cleaned up by a train, you get cleaned up by a train. You know,
Crazy.
The culture. So
That's the thing about like this country. If someone falls off, like if someone we're Cogra, if someone fell over on the footsteps, that guy would be okay. Someone would see him,
Help him out.
help him out. 000, bro. Ambulances here. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
worry if it's serious, like about medical bills and stuff.
Yeah, they're on it.
In Australia, I think if you we talk about fair go.
Mm.
Like if you fall in hard times, there's a social safety net
Yeah.
that can keep you afloat. And I like the idea of living in a compassionate society. Like living in the States, when I would see people in like human beings in a very dire condition of just physical health, I'm like, man, people should have the right to be in fucking good health.
Mm.
Now, it's tricky, obviously, because if you have a population of 300 million people,
Mm.
and at the same time you're the marshal of the world, you're dictating world peace and running around involved in embroiled in all these conflicts. So the expenditure in your budget is all about defense.
Yep.
So you can't have it because in Australia we spend. Someone was telling me recently. I'm pretty certain that the number one expenditure on our budget is social welfare and whatnot.
Yeah. We're very
He was
lucky.
saying we spend a similar amount on our indigenous population as to the military budget, which I guess is a luxury we have because we're not embroiled in so many conflicts. That
Yeah.
money that we would be buying ammunition and things
Yeah.
with, we're able to put to a better. I don't know. I'm really taking this conversation to a different place.
No, look, I don't know. I don't think we want to get bogged down in politics and talking about the voice and all this sort of stuff.
I thought I'd get some smart points in while Jeremy was away, and I feel insecure.
You're trying to show us your intellectual side.
Well, I just think Jeremy, like you guys, I reckon you might not be able to call me out on bullshit, but Jeremy,
That's 100%.
you know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
listening like, yeah, Bobby,
yeah,
great
yeah.
points. Yeah.
Well, if I'm with a hot chick, I'm a scientist. You know what I mean? I was like IGF. I start saying fucking numbers and words together, and people were like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
Bobby's
But-
a really smart dude.
yeah,
Thank you, Jeremy.
I'm good at that. Oh,
Wait.
this is not. Oh,
You got me one.
what? This is I had a cappuccino.
No. That's yours, bro. Are you sure? Okay. I love you. Thank you.
You can tell fucking Jeremy's got that jiu-jitsu money rolling in, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we might as well let's digress for a second, seeing he's back now.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit. What was the catalyst for you starting Atomic Dojo?
I just needed to make more money.
Hey,
It was very, very simple.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Honesty.
I mean, like, I think it's the idea behind it was, you know, you want to make instructionals and things like that. And, like, no one makes instructionals in jiu-jitsu other than to make money. Like, because if you're doing it for reasons other than make money, you put it on YouTube for free.
Yep.
Now, if you've got instructionals and you're also putting stuff on YouTube for free, generally the idea behind that is you're putting out free content to encourage people to want to buy your instructionals and so on and so forth. Like, same reason why you post techniques on Instagram and things like this. But the idea behind doing Atomic Dojo, which is different to instructionals in the fact that it's more like interacting with me daily. So I've got like a lot of people like in a group together, and we're like, you know, people asking questions, sharing techniques, sharing rolling footage, things like this. And the idea was to offer something different to instructionals. Because when I look at like the landscape of what's available, like say you look at like BJJ Fanatics and things like Jiu Jitsu, and I can't think of any other instructional platforms off the top of my head. But the idea is that, you know, when you're competing with,
I
say,
should've
Craig
plugged my
Jones.
one.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
What plug your instructional?
No, go. I don't. I can't. I'm so stoned right now. I can't remember. I was like, "Fuck!" I'm on a platform. Which one? What's it called?
But the idea is like competing with, say, like Craig Jones, John Danaher, Lachlan Giles. So there's Submeta. So there you go. There's another platform.
There's another one. Yep.
But like competing with those guys, like when they've competed at such a high level,
Athletes Ocean.
That's it. Athletes Ocean.
Shout out.
Get Bobby Sandhu's instructional, where he's just sharing Nicky Ryan's techniques.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That is true. That
It's an
is
Shots
endorsement.
fired.
It's like Nicky Ryan's techniques, but cheaper.
I know, and he doesn't mind. He's so chill. He's too worried playing video games to
Well, it's
realize I'm doing intellectual
to
property.
instructionals,
Intellectual.
Look, I think there's
Probably
nothing wrong with that because, so Joseph Chen was also posting the other day on socials about, you know, techniques I stole to help win ADCC trials in European trials,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And he's
great.
just, you know, showing the moves that he stole and the moves that he used and actually put in place in competition, right?
And now I steal Joseph Chen's techniques and show them on Atomic Dojo. So, but yeah, like the idea is just to offer a product that's fundamentally different to just instructionals. So rather than instructionals being one way, the idea is to create like a two-way communication.
Yep.
And then as a result, hopefully it's like just a different product to what you'd be able to get from, say, someone like Gordon Ryan or Craig, something like that, where like they'll show techniques, but then you don't get to ask questions back.
Yeah.
And the idea is it's going to be back and forth and just sharing different types of things. So not just sharing techniques, but also just talking about like how to train, preparing for competition, reviewing match footage, and like rolling footage from the people in the group and things like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was just a way to stay competitive in a market where I don't have the same sorts of like accolades and things like this as these other guys.
Yeah, well, I think it keeps it more intimate, and I think you know, in business that people, I think it was Simon Sinek that used to talk about 1,000 raving fans. If I've got that wrong, apologies, but you know, there's this concept of, you know, if you've got 1,000 fans that are like hardcore fans that are into what you do, they can support you through, you know, almost any endeavor that you want to do, right? And so the idea behind, you know, there's 1,000 raving fans is you can't have a raving fan if they can't communicate with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's just somebody that just follows you on Instagram or socials, like that's not really a raving fan. But if it's somebody that actually can reach out to you and get feedback in terms of what they're doing, they're going to be, you know, take away from that experience and go, oh, you know, yeah, I was talking with Jeremy about this and this is what the insights that he provided. And, you know, I think, and jiu-jitsu is like, I would say it's a bit of a unicorn in that sense because like when it comes to a lot of other combat sports, I think you know, people are still a little bit in the dark ages, like the seminar culture that we have in jiu-jitsu where, you know, people are paying big dollars to come and attend a seminar where they, you know, want to learn what is the latest and greatest in terms of cutting edge technique. And
As opposed to MMA where you
hey, come on, you're too stoned, you're not even using the mic.
Oh, sorry.
As
As
opposed
opposed to MMA where the guys, none of their money's coming from teaching or very little.
yeah.
They're not. How many MMA seminars are there? Nowhere near as many.
Why do you think we see that across boxing, wrestling?
There's a greater volume of knowledge, I believe, in jiu-jitsu, and I think we value learning and actually gaining that knowledge more than other sports.
I think, you go, Jeremy.
I was going to say, like, I think it's just a difference of one being a spectator sport versus a participation sport.
I think
like,
that's right. Yeah.
Like, I think, like, most people watch, like, for example, I'll watch MMA and I'll watch boxing, but I don't do either of those things. I watch MMA for a combination of, like, the entertainment value, as well as I like to sort of, like, look and watch the techniques. But for the most part, I watch jiu-jitsu just for the techniques. And so that means, like, you know, I don't really have an interest in going and doing a seminar from an MMA guy unless they were going to be showing off specific, like, grappling techniques. But I don't really want to, you know, go to a seminar and learn about their striking and things like this.
Yeah.
But a seminar, like a jiu-jitsu seminar, I would go to purely just to learn about the grappling, and I don't really care so much about just, like, meeting the person that's doing the seminar. Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like it's a difference in the types of people that are like that are, you know, fans of the sport. Some are fans because they're participating in it. Some are fans because they're watching it. And you're going to see different ratios depending on what the sport is.
Yeah. See, I think when it comes to jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is a sport where, you know, good technique will actually help you to beat other people, right?
Yes.
Like, so if you had two guys that were the same size, the guy that's more technical is the guy that's going to win, right? And as a result of that, you know, there's a lot of, I guess, thought put into, you know, trying to break things down into key principles and heuristics that try and give you the edge in chaotic situations, right? And I think it's starting to make its way into MMA, but like where it's sort of escaped in MMA for so long is because it's that, you know, sort of like that grappler versus mindset, style versus style mentality was, you know, where it was like, okay, I only need to be better than you at this one area for me to potentially win the fight. If I have the right tactics and I'm better in this specific area, I'll take the fight there and I'll win the fight, you know, whether it's, if I've got better jiu-jitsu, I'll hold the guy down and play that game. But as an example, now what we're seeing is guys are getting better at preventing the being held down, and other guys are also finding it difficult to get the fight to the ground, right? So this is where, you know, I think the jiu-jitsu mindset has really focused a lot on how do we create higher percentage outcomes, whereas like boxing and MMA and kickboxing, there's been less of a focus on that and more of a focus on, okay, you know, what are the techniques that we have? And now it's sort of moving into that realm of, okay, if we sort of change the lenses that we're using to approach those sports, perhaps you can now drive higher percentage techniques. So people are putting a lot more focus on, as an example, on cage wrestling and how to get more out of the cage wrestle and how to get more out of certain positions, which is a very jiu-jitsu oriented thing. That's my perspective. But
Yeah, I mean, I think like on that, like another difference as well, where you're seeing like not so much in MMA, because I do think you're seeing like people in MMA do some seminars, but I think another aspect to it, when you compare these different sports, is like we look at like boxing or wrestling, for example, in comparison to say jiu-jitsu or MMA, is the fact that those sports have been around for a lot longer, and therefore you're also seeing a lot less changes in the sports as a result of like you know, developing new techniques and things like this.
Yep.
Like a similar thing you'll see with like judo as well is like, I'm sure like people could do a judo seminar, but for the most part, you're not seeing and this could also just be my ignorance, but like from my perspective, it looks like those sports don't see as many changes, and so there's not much to be gained from a seminar as like a one-off. Like it's not that like you couldn't develop, like there's not like new skills being developed, but you're not going to pick up potentially game-changing techniques in a very short seminar versus like in wrestling, you're more likely to see the results from being put in like a different environment overall and like that sort of long-term gain. Like you'll also see like similar gains in jiu-jitsu by going into a better environment long-term, but you're also able to just pick up, I think, a lot of new things from like a short seminar where you might be exposed to like a whole new skill set that you might not have ever seen before.
Yeah.
So I think it's like jiu-jitsu being a much younger sport, and like you're more likely to see just completely new skill sets that completely change your approach to jiu-jitsu over like say like a 3-hour period. While like, these other sports, they're a lot more fleshed out and developed and refined. So there's less likely to have those sorts of like immediate impacts to someone's game.
Yeah. I think like, so I think in the judo example, like it was when, I can't remember which year it was, but when they made a specific change to the rules and that changed the style of judo that was being played. Yes.
Yeah, like like you saw that in like judo with a couple of different things. I think they also changed the way grip breaking works. So I think you saw like you couldn't use like a lot of like 2-on-1 grip breaking anymore, which meant that people like one of the more common throws now is sode, which I think is like where they work like double sleeves and like they almost like turn into their opponent, almost like they go into like a seoinage type movement with like 2 sleeves. Like, and this will massively change the sport. But in terms of just new techniques getting developed, I think like it's like they're at a stage where it's like just changes in rule set, changes the landscape of the sport over like people discovering something new. Yeah.
Well, do you think, like, because in jiu-jitsu, right, like we have so many different rule sets. If you think about it, we've got ADCC rule sets. There's, the EBI format. There's combat grappling. There's the IBJJF formats. Like, there's so many different styles of rules that it's sort of led to, very developed games down each of those particular rule sets.
I think we're seeing them converge though over time. Like you're seeing, I think like these interesting like different rule sets come along, and you'll see as a result people developing different skill sets specifically for them.
Yep.
But I think over time what we're seeing is these skill sets generally converging to a overall, just like it seems to be rewarding a lot more well-rounded grapplers rather than specialists. I think for a long time, the landscape of the sport rewarded specialists, and I think that's sort of changing now.
Yeah.
And this could be as a result of also just like the sport becoming more refined and things like this.
Yeah. I think people are getting better at the sport overall, and we're starting to see things like come almost full circle. Like when leg entanglements came onto the scene, everybody was having to learn that, and then people worked out, okay, we can go from leg to the back, and then now we sort of went through that cycle, and now it's coming full circle again. People get good at certain things, and then we work out new counters and how to get back to positions that probably weren't as focused on because they weren't, the current meta, so to speak.
I like the different rule sets because I feel like it forces people to prioritize different skills, and then you have a range of different grapplers who are good at different aspects of the game.
Yeah. Like
EBI guys might be awesome on the back escapes, finishing from the back. I would see a lot of, it's the same in comedy where I'm real jealous of good writers. When I see good federation guys come in with a really nice positional game, I really like that. I really enjoy people who are just very good at passing, playing guard. So you can do that. You could be like, okay, cool. Up until purple belt, I'm doing federation tournaments. I'm not going to go crazy on leg locks. I'm going to focus on passing, guard play. So then different stages of your game, you're forced to work on other things. Otherwise, it's very tempting, I think, for a lot of people to just stick to parts of the game that they're comfortable with. Like even today, I rocked up today, and thankfully I always forget that it's a wrestling class Fridays. And I was like, it's a wrestling class, and I'm like, I'm inside, it's too hard to leave now without being obvious and shit. So, I think it's important. I like the idea, because I started jiu-jitsu, I didn't want to be a fucking butt scooting, inverting.
Well, that's the thing, you get into jiu-jitsu to not be a real athlete.
That's also
you get into jiu-jitsu to be a fake athlete.
That's why I say to people who go to me, what martial art should I do? I go, listen, you're an ordinary person with ordinary physical attributes. The best chance you have of all the real martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, the best chance you actually have to get pretty decent at something is jiu-jitsu. It's unlikely you're gonna be a fucking world-class boxer, or you're gonna be a crazy D1 wrestler, if
Yeah.
you're fucking walking around, you know, like Frank, like look at this guy
Yeah.
right here. We get him
Exactly.
take his shirt off.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
to my point, like we're talking about like jiu-jitsu not being a real sport. We've got Freddie, who is not just like an average human being, but a subpar human being who's doing like okay at jiu-jitsu.
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story because it makes me look great, and I love telling to people. And I even doctor real stories to make myself look better. This is an actual real story that I didn't even have a doctor. So
That's not convincing me. Like
Yeah.
the fact that you have to clarify, like no, this is totally a real story.
It's like when
It's like
somebody
anytime
says-
you see like a stand-up set and the comedian starts with "This is a real story that happened to me." It's like, oh well, now I know they're going to lie to me.
Yeah.
I was leaning on the war mats at B team, and I was looking over. I was in just after they drew like a line. They're like, okay, from here on out, it's pro area, whichever, which isn't like super strictly enforced
And
or
naturally,
whatever.
you felt that was where you belonged.
Well, naturally, I exploited my friendship connections to compensate for my total lack of skill and knowledge in jiu-jitsu. And I was on the other side of the lines, and I was watching Nicky Rod doing backgrounds because he's preparing for that 30K UFC Invitational tournament. One he had the finals with Big Dan. He preparing for that, and Craig's just got back from traveling. Him, Nicky Ryan's obviously much smaller, but he's having a go. Ethan, all these guys, Vince, they're trying to hold him in back control. And it's just hopeless. It's to the point that they're not even starting in the regular EBI position, seatbelt hooks anymore. They're starting double underhooks with a body triangle and like head on the correct side, just as a starting position. Because Nicky Rod's so good at the start where he will like deadlift his feet off the ground, launch himself, immediately misaligning, like center line connection. He's fucking... And I'm watching him and I'm recalling his match with Gordon. I'm like, wow, I'm witnessing probably the greatest back control defense
Yeah.
in history right now.
I don't know. I mean, have you seen me do back control defense with Freddie? I'll let him have my neck and he can't finish me.
Yeah,
Freddie, you
that's,
need to do more cable rows, son.
Yeah, cable.
So I
rows.
asked J-Rod once. I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I can't finish when Nika chokes. He's like,
Cable
Bobby,
rows.
are you reaching further and farther?
That's what I
enough
was saying
across?"
to Freddie before. I'm like, look at Bobby. I was like, Bobby managed to like finish me with the rear naked. Like,
You
why-
just gotta lift some weights. son.
Jeremy
5
is
by 5.
Jeremy's a freak. Like I actually have no explanation for that. I feel like if I got my 10-year-old cousin to put me in a rear naked choke, she's gonna put
But
me
see,
out.
the Jeremy has a real calm demeanor. So when he's so calm and not panicking, it makes you doubt your own rear naked. You're like,
Exactly.
if my rear naked is so good, why is he not?
I
Good
think
poker
he's
face.
mentally.
Why is
I
he
think he's
not-
mentally fucking with me. I think that's what it is. I don't believe it's physical at all. I believe it's
Because
Submission
I have
mental.
done that. I have let go of
Yeah.
Sab and Jeremy before too. 'Cause
submission defense is all mental.
Well, in the sense that
Whoa,
what is a
whoa,
tap?
big call there.
A tap is me.
surrendering.
just
It's
don't-
me
just- yeah.
assuming things are gonna get worse.
No,
They
no,
haven't
no,
gotten
no.
worse yet.
A tap is you giving up. Just don't give up.
That is true.
But you can go.
I used to have this
unconscious,
thing when I was white belt called Hicks and Gracie mode, where I would decide. Let's say I'm under mount. I'm only gonna move forwards, and I'm not gonna take a step backwards. So that
I
means
thought
I'm
you were
gonna
gonna say
go.
like, I'm gonna get out by using breathing techniques.
Inhale, exhale.
And I'm like, from now I'm gonna go 3/4 mount, half guard, get up, get out. And the other part of the Hicks and Gracie mode was if I get caught in a sub, I won't tap. Luckily, I didn't have to use it very
What?
often. Yeah, eventually I had to
What?
talking to myself because I was like, this is actually not productive. Anyway, back to B team, Nicky Rod.
yeah.
So then everyone's just so fatigued and whatever. And this is maybe some days or weeks later. Like, Bobby, you're gonna go do. You got long legs. You can lock a body triangle. You're gonna do this with Nicky Rod. And I always avoided Nicky Rod like the plague. Sometimes he would even like force himself on me. Like he'd just start rolling with me, grabbing me. I'm like, fuck. And other times I would just flat out do whatever I could. Or if I did end up rolling with him, I would continually stop and remind him that I am a feeble human being and you're a fucking star athlete. Look after me. Don't freak out. Anyway. So we start, and Craig looks at me, gets very serious. He goes, listen to me. Don't try and submit him, be a hero. Hold on to that double unders as tight as you can, and that's the drill. You're just going to hold on to him as long as you can, make him work, basically. I'm like, all right. So I get the double unders, and we launch our set. Nicky Rod starts going crazy. And I think because Craig had said to Nicky Rod, Craig had said to me, don't strangle him. Nicky Rod just wasn't really defending the strangle because he just assumed I was going to. So we launched back, bam, I snaked my arm across. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And I lock up a rear naked, like a mandible. And I'm locking it up. And then and people do this to me often because a lot of my bones are so like thin and frail. Like even when I lock up dead, or sometimes like Hayden or someone starts going so crazy, I start to think that just by maintaining position, maintaining saddle or something, I'm going to get injured.
Freddie feels the same.
Yeah.
There's such stress on my joints and stuff. And I start thinking, what the fuck? I'm going to let go. And Nicky Ryan goes, don't tap, you fucking pussy. Like he could tell that I'm going to give up mentally.
Yeah.
So he yelled at me. He's like, don't you fucking... You're about to quit. Don't quit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck
I
this.
told you, tapping is mental.
I didn't. I'm like, I'm not quitting. And Nicky Rod taps. And all of a sudden we sit up and everyone's like perplexed. and Nicky Rod kind of pulls out his mouth. Nicky Rod's always a good sport. He's like laughing. And he smiles and he goes, I'm only human. And Craig goes, yeah, but Bobby's below human.
Bobby is subhuman.
Oh, fuck. So I'm a little bit curious. You know, when was the first time that Jeremy and you, Bobby, had met? And I
had admired him from afar.
He was my secret admirer.
I would see
he's
him
my,
at grappling.
not so
Well, I
secret
knew
admirer.
my coach was Chris Bowles. He started in Newcastle, which is like an hour north of me. Is that correct? Dan Ireland was your first coach?
No, Dan was the first person
Sean
I ever
Patrick.
trained with. Yeah.
That's wild. That's my coach's coach. That was your coach. And Chris would always say to me, so Chris, once I remember at Grappling Industries, my man Jeremy looked even more boyish and young than he does now. And he pointed him out to me and he was like, this guy's good. And he switched on and like, watch this guy and whatever. And I was like, sweet. And then I heard he'd gone to Melbourne. And I was...
He followed me there.
I followed him, yeah.
It's been true love ever since.
Now. I was like, fuck, I'm not going to work at a convenience store. And fuck doing more school.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan told me I can do whatever I want to do, you know?
Exactly.
So I was like, I'm going to
When did he
follow
tell you that?
Jeremy. I think 12 I started listening to Joe Rogan.
Wow.
And then Ben Hodgkinson helped me get a job in Melbourne and the rest is history.
and you caretook for Jeremy's work and you stole a trolley.
Yeah. That's how he got by.
How much did you get for it?
How dare you guys?
Klept a trolley and just sold it for
Wow.
to pay rent.
I was all genuine and authentic and now I'm being made fun of. I was made
He's getting
myself
made fun of, but
I
it's
do.
okay.
Circle of
Yeah,
life.
it's okay.
Circle of life.
These make good stories that you can use for stand-up.
Fucking stand-up sucks.
How is the stand-up going, Bobby?
I did an open mic last... I actually saw one of my friends who I remember seeing one of his first sets. I haven't seen him in a while, a couple of years. And last night he got up and he was really funny. And I was like, wow, there you go. And then I saw another guy. Oh my God. I met this guy pre-COVID and he'd been doing stand-up for 8 years. And he was horrible. And now it's been about... since the start of COVID, how long's it been? 3 years?
Yeah, about 3. Yeah.
And he's still horrible. So 11 years of rocking. And let me tell you guys, open mic comedy is dead. You're around people who are meth addicts and crazy lunatic, like people who just have some weird need for attention and like,
Yeah.
and he's stuck in that abyss for 11 years. Like even me, I'm like barely putting time in and stuff, and I'm like, so, okay, 5 years. I'm like now moving into doing clubs and stuff. But a lot of that stuff is also, I think you get lucky, who you know, what you're around. I feel like in comedy, it probably might be true for jiu-jitsu also. It's easier to get the opportunities than it is to rise to the occasion of the opportunity.
I feel like my only chance at comedy is just like getting like the pity coach laughs when you make like a joke when you're teaching class, and like they just laugh because they're like, fuck, if I don't laugh, I'm not going to get the next stripe. That's like the only laughs I get. Like I know I'm not
no,
funny.
I think you're funny. I think you're funny.
Mm.
I don't think
a very-
you're...
Bobby,
You're
I'm not
very-
going to promote you. It's okay.
It's a very dry humor.
Jeremy needs
know?
someone to come off with. Like he needs someone to conversate with. I feel like by
To
himself.
make fun of.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need someone
exactly.
to get off with?
No, I can do that on my own.
All right. Helps. You always see those ads. Do you need a partner to... Okay, I'm not going to...
I think you get to serve different ads to me, Bobby.
No, I'm talking about the ads on the site.
Yeah, no, I know.
All right. Okay. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you're beyond me here.
Good. Johnny, that's the right answer.
Johnny's a married man. He doesn't know what you're talking
Johnny.
So, Freddie, how about you? How did you meet these guys?
Actually, ironically, very luckily, my first day at this gym was when Jeremy had brought in Craig, and it was like I was in like a dream world. It was like I came in just to do a class. I was
Isn't that crazy? People, you're going to have that effect on people?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much Jeremy. It was more Craig.
I've seen Joe Rogan 2-3 times. And I remember the first time seeing him, it was so odd.
Yeah, I saw Rogan as
I
well.
mean,
It was weird.
Yeah, where'd you see him?
I saw him at ADCC.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, it looked like
Yeah.
oh, you're not in the screen
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're here. He was sitting next to Lex Friedman when I saw him, and I was like, and Lex is wearing the suit.
That he always
that
wears.
fucking
I
suit.
just want to say this publicly. If Lex motherfucking Freeman, if you ever cross paths with me at an open mat, I'm gonna injure you.
What?
I'm threatening.
Whoa.
Wait, we need to hear the story here.
Huh?
We
No.
need to hear the story.
I'm
That'll
just
hold
saying.
up in court.
No, he's never interacted. I'm just acting crazy. I've never interacted with him or anything.
Whoa.
Okay.
I'm like, this is gonna be my
YouTube
end,
black belt, bro. Hold on, bro.
bro.
Yeah.
The fuck
Do you think
out
he's a
of
celebrity? Is he like got
Get the
celebrity
fuck
pass,
out. I
or-
did that once with a famous comedian in Melbourne. I recognized him at St. Kilda. I'm like, this is my chance to deal with my insecurities and shit.
Wait, how does you threatening Lex Friedman help you with your
I take that back.
insecurities?
I'm acting crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that's an
I'm
expression
I'm
of
just trying to be
insecurity.
funny.
I like it.
I know, but by having your insecure, I don't know. I think a lot of people are very insecure at a younger age, and then the whole confidence and ability.
Yeah, I mean that generally comes with age. Is like you just get more confident as you become more of a person you are.
Yeah.
That's why, like when you're in school, they always hammer away on that topic of identity. I think
Yeah.
all of us. I mean, I don't know if it's the same in like American schools or anything like that, but I know, like Australia, it's like we all cover that topic of like identity through school because a lot of it's about like a lot of kids like dealing with like trying to become more confident and dealing with insecurities because they're not a fully formed person yet.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that confidence boost. I don't know when it's going to come in for me.
It's a while off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Jiu-Jitsu's
also
knocked that down. for me.
I remember a distinct moment. I would call this in my personal development, whereby I was someone very young. If the teacher asked a question, I had to shoot my hand up and answer. But what I realized I was doing was I wasn't answering the question. I was letting everybody else around me know that I knew. And then I remember there was a distinct moment whereby someone else answered, and I was like, hang on, I can just enjoy the benefit of knowing the answer and not announce this to everyone around me. And everyone else will be less annoyed by me.
But what if they asked
And-
you? What if they were like,
Well, that's different. But I was distinct.
Bobby
I had
didn't
a
actually have
distinct
the answers.
motive.
He just didn't want to get
no,
found
ask
out.
Freddie.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you could have on face value your intention is this, but really you have another secret like agenda.
I feel like I've done that before. Yeah, I get what you mean.
What do you mean you've done that before? Fred?
Like at school, like I would like put my hand up, having absolutely no clue what the fuck is going on, but
Ooh,
I just wanted to.
That's different.
I just wanted to make
I feel
sure.
like you do that now. That's what I was
I
saying
do,
before,
I
where
do
you're
that.
like, I know what the answer to this is. and
Yeah.
there's
I do feel
just,
like you're
no
smarter.
factual basis behind it.
Yeah, sometimes Jeremy will be teaching something, and I'm just like nodding, so if he ever looks at me, it looks like I'm paying attention. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about like I don't know, like
You're like, what the fuck? Where is this going?
Yeah.
Lachlan Giles would do this thing where he would like demonstrate the technique, do all the iterations, and then he would be like, Bobby, show the class the technique.
I
just did."
used to do this as well. I
that'd
love
be
that.
great. You should do that more.
And I love when the person's like,
Bro, and all of a sudden, it's stuff like this is so good. Nicky Ryan, he'll go, all right, guys, last time. Little things like that, mental pointers. Now you go,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay, if you've
yeah,
been
yeah.
fucking off the last 2 times, this is your last chance to see the
I think
technique.
John does that as well. Seb was saying to me, like he says he has like a cue for like the last time he's going to show something. So if you haven't been paying attention, it's like this is the time because you're not going to see it again.
Nicky Rod always says, peek in here, guys, peek in here. And I'm like, is there any, that's probably just he's saying that. I don't think there's a benefit. In terms of- I've had discussions with him about like, I'm like, this is totally not scientific. He's telling me about grounding, going outside, getting grounded by the earth's energy. I'm like, brother, what the
I
fuck?
think you're a wild character. Man.
What's the science behind this shit?
Yeah, it's working for him. Yeah, one of the best.
Well, that's the thing. I'm going to lose an argument with him because where do I stand?
There might be some basis for that. Like, it's like plants, right? Like plants when plants are like planted in the ground.
If you
There's
talk
a bit
to
of a
me
difference
about
versus a plant
energy,
that's-
vibration,
No, I'm just
I
saying.
write you off.
Are you
Literally
saying that
when
Bobby
you
should go plant himself on the ground?
no, like literally when you grow plants,
Up
like
to my neck.
so because
So
I live,
you'd be like,
look, I live in an apartment block, right?
Just
But
get
like
sunburned?
You want me to get crazy on
I'll
you?
grow like
You know convict settlers used to bury average I'm not gonna say it. Go on, sorry.
What I was going to say is that when you try and grow plants, like if you're in an apartment or whatever, and you're growing them out of containers on your balcony and things like that, like I feel like sometimes they don't grow as well as being in the ground, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess, you know, when
But
people-
we're not plants, brother. I'm not doing photosynthesis.
so you're saying you're telling me if
I reckon
when
if you
say you're
never
not
put your
plants-
foot on the ground ever, you
You'd be
always
okay.
wore shoes and socks and showered and got out, you would be a perfectly fine human being.
I don't know, man.
Maybe your feet aren't as hard, but as far as modern society, so long as you don't wear those constricting shoes and your fucking feet start to become pointed, you know.
Oh, like the ones that the Chinese women have
what
to
is
wear?
that called? Oh no, that's totally. different.
That's feet wrapping. That's a
Oh,
that's
dude,
a totally different cultural
Sorry,
thing.
I thought that's where he was
I wonder if
going.
there's any like sexual shit behind that. You know?
I think
Some people like small feet.
Wait, I think isn't it meant to be like it's appealing for them to look at?
I
how
want to
small
say
their
some
feet are?
crazy shit, but then I'm like,
Of course, you always want to
shouldn't
say
be
crazy
saying
shit.
crazy
Well,
shit
the-
to the public at large.
The secondary aspect of that is that they can't run away.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
Wow, I never thought about that.
yeah. My dad.
I've
would
heard. Okay, what do you guys think about that? You guys are good at martial arts and you know a bit about the anatomy.
I'm
heard-
okay. Bobby's, Freddie's getting there.
Yeah. Fuck you. I'm glad you weren't here. It'd be all of me.
Yeah.
Now you as a more junior member, I feel this is good. This is how I feel with Craig. If there's someone else getting
Bobby-
lit up, I feel.
But Bobby, I'm a
suppressing on me.
21-year-old kid. You're like a grown man.
23, son.
Oh, I thought you were like near 30.
Ooh.
I thought you seem wise.
He's weathered.
yeah. He's weathered. He's weathered.
He's weathered like a 30-year-old man.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's weathered about me?
It's the psychedelics.
Yeah, just the
Yeah,
abuse
it's
on your body.
psychedelics.
I've done no abuse.
You've advanced your mental state.
Yeah, you
I
said mental
was-
training. You've
People
been
don't
through it.
understand where I started. That's what people don't get it.
I've seen photos of
15
you,
and
yeah.
shit, brother. I was struggling.
Are you from
Should have
like a
seen
rich
me at
family?
15.
No, just physically in terms of bad habits.
Oh,
They let me eat like a lot of candy.
Me and you at 15, I guarantee you I'm worse. I was 120 kilos at 15.
But you
I can't
strength.
picture you
As a
as
120-year-old, you got
Yeah.
your strength. Better to be too fat than too skinny. Too fat,
No way, bro.
bro.
Really?
You don't even have to eat in a surplus to gain muscle.
Bro, you can't. I couldn't make it up the stairs without.
So, same with Elliot Gracie. Apparently, have you heard this shit?
What?
Henry and that I've heard like myths. This has to be myth. They say Elliot couldn't do a single push-up,
Oh,
or maybe it's a pull-up, and he couldn't run up a flight of stairs.
yeah. Going upstairs
yeah,
is
it's
hard,
dangerous.
dude.
Shouldn't run upstairs.
Yeah.
It's exercise,
I
bro. I
went-
was cutting weight once on a Stairmaster.
Yeah, Stairmaster. That's it.
Brother, I was so retarded. It's the last thing I chose to do. So I'd like done many iterations of like sauna, on a bike, listening to fucking sick music. And then I was like, you know what I should do for the last fucking couple of pounds? I'm gonna get on a Stairmaster. Nearly killed myself.
Were your legs sore?
No, I don't feel a lot.
How much weight can you cut? I mean, there's not much more. That can
I
go
cut to 70 kilos. I'm 77. That's
Why
the
did you
biggest.
lick your lips like that?
off.
77.
77.
70.
70. That's not.
I
that bad.
walk around.
Can
70.
you make 66 for trials? You think?
No.
Absolutely not.
You'd be just. I think your skeleton would be.
I
66
just think
kilos, let alone everything
the
else.
possibility for injury and stuff. I just think cutting is. What do you think about the day before weigh-in and stuff?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it kind of fucks me around a little bit because like I'm in between weights for like 66 and 77.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm going to go up to 77. Like day of weigh-in means like I can bulk up a little bit and I'll like be able to sit sort of good on that weight. And now I'm like dealing with people who are probably going to be cutting from like 85. Like Hayden was talking about cutting down to
know.
77
He said he's
the
doing
day
it.
before weigh-in. And I'm
He
like,
said-
what
yeah,
the
he's doing
fuck?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you-
But they're going to be depleted, these cunts.
yeah.
Mm,
But
well,
man,
no,
see,
I don't
No,
think so.
I mean, the
IVs.
day before weigh-in, I don't think
Day
so.
Bro, why
before
are you
weigh-in,
bringing my
IVs.
confidence down? Just
Like
say
this-
yeah, bro. They're going to be
No,
fine.
but there's just so many ways that like
Yeah.
you can manage the system, right?
Damn.
Like, and
Yeah.
you know,
I think Hayden's
M-
gonna look good, man.
MMA athletes are all about this, right? Like this.
Like the effort it takes for Hayden to cut to 77 would be about like the same as me getting to 66. It's like it's definitely doable.
yeah.
Yeah. But you
What do
did
you walk around at?
66 same day, right?
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
it was shit.
But yeah.
Wow, you're a beast.
But like, so okay, out of curiosity, Jeremy, when you did 66 same day, because like I remember, like I'm going back years, right before you moved to Melbourne, right? So I think we competed what 70 kilos? Is that the division we did, or did we do
Yeah,
66?
I think about.
I think we did 70.
It might have
Yeah.
been 70. It might have even been 75, but I just would have been light for it.
Yeah, but like you've gotten bigger since then. Like you've definitely filled out more since
Yeah.
that time. Because I remember when I like saw you maybe.
So that would have been like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. Right. And so then it was like, okay, you gained some size. So that's why I'm a little bit curious. Like when you did 66, like how much did you cut, and then how much did you blow back up the next day? Oh, sorry, the same day. Well,
So same day, I think I cut from 73 kilos down to 66. So that would have been like a 7 kilo cut. I probably would have been like 70 kilos or something by the time I was on the mat that day.
Yep.
And I would have put all the weight back on by the next day or even the day after. I might
But
have
it
been like
wasn't
72.
many. Oh, okay, I see. This is a 1 day event.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
For ADCC, that'd be much tougher, you believe?
Oh yeah, that was way worse. That sucked.
Oh, wow, you did that. That's right.
because you got to do it every day. Like
Oh,
every day
wow.
you're competing.
Yeah, that was miserable.
I remember seeing you the day before the event, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go say hi to Jeremy," and you were having none of it. You were like so depleted. I was like, "Jesus Christ, get away from this man!" Like he's
It was
not happy
especially
with
worse
his
like
life.
earlier on cutting weight. I remember being in Japan, like basically crying on the day before because I was just like so depleted. And I remember sitting there with Lockie Warren, and he was just like, just have a sip of Coke, mate. And I'm like, thank you. And like try not to cry.
Yeah.
Can't cry, or you cut more
It's
weight.
crazy how quickly your
The pro teeth
body
wouldn't come out.
mentally and physically goes into that fucked up state. And then how quickly, like you eat a one kebab or whatever, and then it's all of a sudden like all that desire for food and water.
Yeah, you're like, why did I eat this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel like shit after if you
Yeah.
ate.
Do you really? I was gonna ask you, how
Yes.
does it feel after that? Like eating.
No, you feel like
fine-
shit. You eat food and you're
Yeah.
like,
What?
that was terrible.
Depends how big the cut is. Like obviously, if you can get away with just doing a water cut, you won't feel that bad. But when you've actually had to cut whether it's fiber or sodium and all this sort of stuff,
All of that.
like yeah.
There's no fiber in my diet anyway.
What do you mean? There's no fiber in your diet?
Carnivore, baby. All you need is liver. Eat a liver a day. I don't know.
Are you gonna be doing 77 for the Strauss?
Well, he's not going to make 66.
I thought maybe bulk up to 88. Bobby's
I
looking big now.
always say that every year. I'm like, yeah, I'll
88.
be 1,000 kilos. And I have to eat the food, and I have a problem. I'm gonna need to figure out my life. I'm gonna get my shit together.
How did you do? I remember last trials you actually had a decent run. I remember.
No, I didn't. I died.
I don't know why. I
second.
remember seeing you like have a few matches.
I
and
did. I just. You know what it is? It's also Craig's in your corners. People are paying more attention.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Did you have 2 matches?
2.
you did 66 last year or 77?
77.
I got taken. So I came out first round.
Congrats.
I got taken. Jeremy. I came out and old mate shot a double on me almost immediately, and I was hoping to get taken down into closed guard, but the man took me down to side control, and I was like, "Fuck!"
That didn't go to plan.
I was like, "What?" And I've got this crazy headgear on, and I felt like a lot of people were paying attention, just like I said, because Craig's in the corner, and I'm like, I just spent 6 months in fucking America. What the fuck am I doing in side control? So I did like a knee elbow escape and caught a Kimura. I did like a choi bar, whipped my leg through, rolled the guy for a front flip, took home an armbar. And then I stood up and I was like, very good. And then I had been promised many presents that Craig knows how to motivate a man like me. And all I had to do was take out the second round. But Bora cut my dreams short. He ankle locked me like the final minute of regulation.
He went on to get bronze.
No. He went on to win the event, didn't he? Or
No, Brock didn't win trials.
Kenta won.
Kenta won. He got. I'm pretty sure he got bronze. I'm not mistaken.
No,
Kenta did it with
Joseph
Ethan.
got bronze.
Oh,
Yeah, so
oh yeah. Siraj got silver.
Joseph beat Burak in the constellation for the bronze, I think. And then Kenta and Joseph had the finals match.
What?
Yes. Kenta and Joseph had a match.
No, they had a
No,
semi-finals
they had a
match.
semi-finals.
Okay, who was... It was Siraj, sorry. was the final.
Siraj.
Siraj did very well. So that's what the other thing mentally. I just seen Siraj explode Matt Clark's ankle. So I had a little bit of a straight ankle lock phobia. I was like, what the fuck is going on with these, people
Straight
from... Anyway, so I had a similar guy, Burak. Similar community.
He was
This
grabbing
guy.
your shin. He wasn't even close to your ankle.
I know. And I was just like, fuck it, he's gone belly down. Why am I trying to be a hero?
Yeah, belly down. It's pretty
Well,
much-
I'm an idiot. I also I'm still very retarded in jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
I've always been very disproportionate. I'm always like, I'm going to do closed guard for 2 years straight. And then we'll come back to something else later. Once...
Freddie, what do you intend to get good at?
Jesus, really
I'm happy not being good at anything. It's
I wouldn't say you're not good at anything, Freddie. You got a jab on you, don't you? Let's see a jab. Let's see.
No, I don't have it.
You want to get up and shadow
I
box
definitely don't
for
have
2
a
minutes?
jab. Well, Jeremy, I'm a product of you, so any failure
do
I
my
have
classes. You sit out
ultimately
every
falls
other
down
round.
to you. Yeah, but come on, I try my best, Jeremy. But yeah, I'm hoping to get better. Bobby's been showing me a lot of good back stuff. It's been very, very
So
helpful.
you're a product of Bobby Sandhu. You're
That's
a Bobby
right.
Sandhu.
You
Yeah,
got,
yeah,
you got access to Jeremy like
We need
3
to do a
times a
paternity
week.
test
Yeah.
on that
And
one.
instead,
I'm
it's
going.
like-
I'm going to Bobby. Well, Jeremy
I'll
says.
take you. I'll take
Jeremy
you.
says-
I take everyone. The poor, the sick. The fucked. That's the good guy.
as long as they buy
paying
your
people to be students of
as
this.
long as they buy your instructional athletes ocean shout out.
That's it. I'm easy to impress. You know. I remember there were drug dealers that came into the bar I worked there once, and they offered a deal to the guy about letting people sell like cocaine in the bar, and you could like give him $1,000, whatever. And the guy turned it down, and I was like, "What an idiot! I would have just done it for the free coke." That's a joke. That's a bit I'm working on.
Diet Coke.
Diet.
Were you in Vegas for this past ADCC?
No, not for. I was there for trials. I
Oh.
was there for the UFC tournament where I rocked up and didn't buy tickets because I thought I'm Craig Jones' friend. And then I was outside the UFC Apex, not able to get in. So then I started trying to like hit up people I knew in the Vault camp,
Yeah.
try and call in connections, and it was like kind of awkward because they weren't really having that. And then I was like, this is great. I'll fly into Vegas.
You're like, you're not good enough friends with Craig to get a ticket into the Apex, but like,
well,
you're less friends with these guys and they're going to give you a ticket.
Well,
Yeah.
no, obviously Craig is gonna try to pull me in if he could. I think they're just real strict, and he'd already brought in like Seth, other people, so it was like kind of getting to that limit. And I said to him, Craig, I was like, listen, Craig, this is to make him feel better. This is probably not my genuine feeling, but this is what I said to him. I said, hey, if I had to miss the event or the after party, I know what my decision would be.
That's fair.
Because we're in Las Vegas.
So you're saying he sorted you out for the after
So
party?
no. Luckily, some Kazakh millionaire guy came through with a bunch of
So
tickets.
you didn't
and he
go
got
to the
me in.
after party?
I went to both.
Were you at the after
I went to
party?
both.
No.
Were you at the after
Who do you
party in
think
Vegas,
you're fucking
Jeremy?
with?
No, I went home.
Okay. Because I wasn't 21 when I was in Vegas. Because I think it was public, right? Like it was for anyone.
Brother,
could-
you
No,
can
I
do
didn't go.
everything in public over
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
You could be out. There's no laws in Vegas. You kill a woman, kill a man. You know they're killing people in Austin. I remember when Haysam Rita came to Austin. He was like staying with us for a bit, and I'm living with people from B Team. I remember him saying, because it was like a serial killer in Austin. And Haysam Rita said, "I hope I run into that serial killer."
Damn.
He was like, "I'm ready," and he proved it later on with the Mexican method. You know?
Oh, the guy that stole
He
his...
let him know. He's like, "I'm here to clean the city up."
Can you imagine robbing a guy's car and Haysam Rita? Like, just this massive...
I won't ever
6'4".
take a Tic Tac off him without asking. Ever.
Yeah, that guy, you wouldn't want to go down.
Brother,
that path.
what I witnessed, I mean, Jesus. His hand's so big too. But
Yeah, he's a big
you know
man.
how hard I work. Get out of Ghana.
He's like the Francis Ngannou of the Jiu-Jitsu world. That the armbar he had against Cyborg. He was like, I
He's
remember...
like a focused Bobby Sandhu.
Yeah, and like...
It's what you could be, Bobby.
Far better genetics.
Whoa.
Far better genetics.
Well, I feel like similar frame,
Bobby
but
just
it's
needs
like
to.
you,
building
you,
muscle
you
and
know,
shit
you just went
is-
the different route.
Mm.
He stayed razor focused on his goals,
Yeah,
and you're like,
Genetics.
Yeah.
Genetics.
yeah.
no, Haysam was pretty skinny before.
No.
When he was doing quintet, yeah.
I'm desperately searching for excuses.
Yeah.
But he's raised in Japanese society, very disciplined people. I was raised in very liberal, open.
They love him in Japan. They love him. I saw. Craig was saying that he got them into that sumo dojo. Apparently, that's like really hard to get into. Like it's
Well,
only
they're
for-
not meant to let like foreigners.
Yeah, that's what I
Inside.
mean.
It's like
Yeah.
it's my understanding. It's like you've got to know people like to be able to just go and watch, and it's like
Yeah.
like and to even like to see like an event live, like are not allowed to go and watch a
Wow.
live event if you aren't Japanese.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Man. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Only
wow,
Japanese people are allowed to watch the actual sumo events. That like you can go and like go to a stable and watch like training sessions, but like it's like
Wow.
even then it's like limited.
Wow.
But I think like Heisem like
Helped to pull some strings.
like being raised in Japan.
That's interesting because it's a closed off society, but Heisem seems to be like a higher status person there, so they mustn't care about him being.
Is he
black.
actually has Japanese blood, or is he just born in?
No, his father just went there. Look at him.
Yeah.
He's Japanese blood.
But that's what I was about to say. Is like, is
Where's
there
the blood? In
actually
his toes, brother?
is there a black?
There's no Japanese in him.
Is there like
He's probably been in some Japanese, but. Arigato gozaimasu. Those women have the samurai spirit in them. I'm telling you. I'm gonna tell me. Want me to tell you a story off there?
No, it's okay. I'm all right. I'm okay.
Haisam's such a fucking. He brings the mood up in the room. He's a good.
He seems
vibe.
like a lovely guy.
He dances and smiles and shit.
He was like, he honestly kickstarted this past ADCC. I remember when I was at the event, people were so,
The star.
they were so like tired because it was like a 1 hour to bring everyone out, and Andre and Galval Gordon faced off. It was like, holy fuck, just start the event. And then Gordon comes out and it's like, all right, yeah, whatever. Like, we didn't even care. But when Heisem hit that armbar, it like kickstarted the event. Everyone uproared. He got the crowd going. And it was like, from that point on, we were all, I feel like the whole crowd was like, this is going to be a good fucking event. We're going to get going.
Yeah, the man gets he's publicity wise, he's reels and they get millions of views and.
Yeah. And he hasn't like, he's beaten some big names, but I wouldn't say he's like, you know.
Yeah, he beat Giancarlo obviously sometime before
Yep.
the ADCC breakout performance that he had. He fought him on who's number one and beat him. He's beaten. Who else he beat?
Cyborg.
I think he's been that El Monstro, the Cruz, Elder Cruz. Could be wrong about that.
He's had some good runs on Quintet.
Quintet. He fought Lachlan Giles back in the day when I was training at Lachlan Giles.
yeah.
It
What
was
a match.
rounds.
Yeah,
Craig
yeah,
had to sub
yeah.
him. Lachlan had to sub him multiple times.
What? Wow.
It was like, yeah, if you subbed the guy, you only won the first round.
Wow.
Lachlan was saying it's a very shady Chinese organization. He wasn't even sure if he was going to get paid. Like, it was like a... You could guess. I think about that sometimes because I'm like, now sometimes people are like, they might buy you a ticket, fly you out to do like a seminar or something somewhere. They could just fly you somewhere crazy and now you're
Yeah, you're
stuck.
stuck.
That's a weird thing about
Stuck.
if you physically move your body to some other location geographically. That's why I said never let a car put you in a car.
Never.
If they're Freddie, this is for you, probably especially.
Do you think
If
people
some
are
men
going to
grab
pick
you,
me up?
You never know, brother. Maybe they
I
get
look like the guy.
extortion.
They're like, this little guy will take him.
Extortion out of the family. I reckon you get some money from him. It'd be hard though. It'd be tricky. Maybe you put him in a car and restrain him, hold him down, tie him up. His parents would give you some money.
Just on that. Have you ever had any shady moments when you're out doing, traveling and doing seminars and all that
Talking
sort of
to me?
stuff?
Talking to Bobby?
I'm talking to you. Yeah.
No, it's all been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
Normally it's pretty organised, right? Like, I don't know who Bobby's getting to book him for seminars.
Hey, I hate anybody. I'll work for anybody.
Yeah.
I used to think, should I say this? I'm going to say this. I used to think some prominent people in Jiu Jitsu, when they would go to the Middle East and they would be teaching someone like a government figure who, their systems of government and judicial system and whatnot, some of the things are a bit questionable and not aligned with our Western standards. And I'd be like, do I want to go and take money from that, like from those people? And then the older I've gotten, I realize how hard it is to make money. I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
You could just give me money. I'm doing whatever.
Well, I think, this is a sport where you really have to love it if you want to continue pursuing it, right? Like, I think, both like Jeremy and you could probably talk about that in terms of like, trying to make money from a sport like this, right?
I mean, I'm doing okay.
You'd be okay now.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you'd be doing well now. But like, when you were coming up, right? You were still working. Let's be real, right? Like, you had to make sacrifices. So
I don't know if you really had to make sacrifices. I mean, I feel like I hear that get spoken about a lot, but I mean, I feel like it's a very selfish lifestyle and it's really not too many sacrifices. Like, it's a very selfish pursuit. You're living a degenerate lifestyle, and then you're just hoping you make money. I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I just feel like it's a very selfish lifestyle. I feel like I haven't had to make too many sacrifices. It's like, does it close me off from other opportunities? Yes, but I feel like that's no different to any other career path, really.
Yeah. And if you want to be tip of the spear, you have to prioritize, right? Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
So,
But like at the end of the day, it's like you're doing that, but you're still doing it for yourself. It's not like you're making sacrifices and railroading yourself because you're doing it for like some other, like to help other people. Like, like you're choosing to do like humanitarian work or something like this, where you are railroading yourself a little bit. Like, there's not like a career path in humanitarian work.
In
Like
saying that, the goal itself becomes a higher purpose separate to yourself. It's like, obviously, this is a false analogy, but sometimes I think of it. Have you heard of Bhagat Singh? Probably not.
Go on.
He's an Indian revolutionary hero. The British hung him. But there's like a scene in the Bollywood movie they made about him where he comes back home and his parents are like, oh, by the way, this is your wedding. We're marrying you to this lady. So then he, in the movie scene, he approaches her privately. And this is kind of like a no-no. You're not going to meet the chick like alone and shit. But he just has a conversation to her. He's like, hey, I can't marry you. And she's like, well, is there something wrong with me? Am I lacking? Am I not? Are you not attracted to me? Is it? And he goes, no, you're beautiful. From what I hear, you have all the virtues, what not expected of a woman. And she says, well, is there somebody else? And he goes, no, well, he goes, my cause. I'm married to my cause. That is freedom for the Indian people and shit. Obviously he's of course a lot bit more romantic than my little ADCC trials. But
are you sure he just wasn't batting for the other team?
What's that?
Was he just batting? Maybe he wasn't interested in females, and there's nothing.
Brother, how dare you? This is the Sikh revolutionary hero.
I don't know.
Jesus.
I'm just
Disrespecting his people.
I don't mean. No, honestly, I don't mean. Okay, I don't mean any disrespect, but like, I'm just thinking outside the square.
There's
right?
another story.
I mean, I think Bobby was doing exactly that. Is like he decided to start a revolution in a foreign country to hide the fact that he's gay.
I kind of romanticize the pursuit of, like, you have to be committed. Obviously, you can get far not being super committed too,
But I mean, like, that's the thing though. Like, even if you pursue a lifestyle where you're thinking about doing something greater than yourself, ultimately it is for selfish reasons.
Absolutely.
Because like pursuing a selfless thing makes you feel good because like you're doing something because like you're like, oh, I'm helping these other people. But like it's still like you're still doing it because it makes you feel good. It's like no different to like someone who chooses to pursue a stoic lifestyle where like that's like characterized by trying to not pursue enjoyment and about like living a worthwhile life. But people are still doing that because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Like it's like a choice people make. So I feel like it's, people are essentially almost living like, maybe not quite like a hedonistic lifestyle, but like a similar thing, but it's just getting masked as a different style of life.
I think what you're saying is more realistic, and it's a better. Well, it's because they're all ultimately just different ways to frame what you're doing. And I think that type of framing, you feel less of like, oh my God, I'm really doing it tough, which you may be like, oh, this sucks, but compared to what? And is it really that bad? Like often the felt sense of something is nowhere near as bad as what you make things out to be. Yeah. You're going to go to the dentist, you're like, oh, fuck, this cunt's going to be all up in my mouth and shit. And
Your expectations versus your reality.
The other thing is too then, like, who said this? Mark Twain or something? He said the worst things in my life never happened to me. You can repeat that incident so many times in your head versus experiencing it once. So I try to say that to myself too. I'm like, okay, if you're going to suffer, if you have, generally, sometimes you're just making things out that never come to be, But if I do have to endure something tough, I prefer to endure at the time that it happens as opposed to, again, the many fold times I'm thinking through it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's switch gears a bit because we got a little bit heavy there.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I didn't get an answer out of you, Jeremy. Were you gonna? So you still deliberating over to going 66 or 77?
No, I'm doing 77.
You are.
Fuck.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Fuck.
okay. Yep.
Sorry, Bobby. I'm going to be there to ruin your day.
Jeremy.
And out of curiosity, I'm just when Bobby was talking about like all the different comps that you can basically jump into in the States, do you feel like Jiu Jitsu in Australia is a little bit behind in that sense because we don't necessarily have the opportunity to compete as much?
Like behind's a funny way to word it. I think we just don't have many people here. Like, so it's just, there's just,
The
by
depth of
nature of numbers, we're going to have less opportunities. Like, and this is just the case, not just in jiu-jitsu in Australia, but just most career paths is generally because there's just less of us here. There's like, you know, generally you just got a pretty short trajectory in whatever career you choose to go down. Yeah. Like, so I just feel like it's just purely down to population.
Yep. Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting though? Then that I guess on a per capita basis, like we do produce some of the best athletes in the world, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, depending on the specific sport. There's like I was reading about this recently, like which I thought was quite interesting. Like for example, and like you'll see people talk about, and this might get like slightly controversial depending on how sensitive you are, but people talk about, you know, like say like African representation in swimming sports, for example.
Yep. And
there'll be discussions about like how that relates to generally like, you know, muscle density and things like this. But the interesting thing I read about it is like generally a bigger impact, like something that affects this sort of thing is generally culture. Like if you look at like a lot of African countries, for example, like most of them don't have the same sort of access to water. But then you'll look at Australia, for example, we are overrepresented in swimming more so than Americans. And pretty much all of us live coastally. So just generally like the access to water seems to be like one of the biggest factors, and like that affects like culture in sports and things like this. So I think like when you look at like representation in different sports, most of it comes down to culture. Like it's the same when they talk about like
Just
wrestling,
quickly,
for example.
I can't swim. I think the darker you are, the less buoyancy you have.
Well, no, so that's what I mean. Like, so this is like one theory people talk about, and that might be one of those things where it's like, it is true. And that's what I mean by like, when I said like, this is potentially a controversial topic. But then just when I was reading about different things about that.
Wrestling?
Like,
What were you going to say about wrestling?
well, so then similar thing in wrestling is like, you know, like you look at parts of the world where like, that have like greater outcomes in wrestling, like looking like Russia and things like this, and they generally are producing not a particularly athletic style of wrestling, and it's going to be a much more technical style, and that generally seems to work more in their favor. So I think like people often talk about like obviously genetics is going to have to be a factor to some degree. Like if you look at wrestling, for example, like the body types are all the same for the most part, where it's like short legs, long torsos, long arms, but for the like, and I imagine that's when you're starting to talk about like the very, very like top percentage of like divisions. But for the most part, the biggest impact will probably be culture when it comes to the different sports. So I think like that's why we potentially do okay in aspects of jiu-jitsu, is because jiu-jitsu is such a young sport. There's an opportunity in Australia to develop particularly the nogi aspect of it. I think, for example, part of it was Australia was very ahead when leg locks were coming along, for example. Like that's like we had like grappling industries and things like that here, and that's what I mean by it being like potentially cultural. We had grappling industries which allowed heel hooks, and that was around 2015. So we were one of the parts of the world where, you know, one of our major competitions actually allowed heel hooks, which meant that a lot more of us were having to practice heel hooks, which is why we potentially got a little bit ahead.
Who first showed you heel hooks?
I learned heel hooks when I was a white belt. But when I really started getting into heel hooks, it was mainly just working it on my own. I had a like coach and training partner in Newcastle, Kieran Harris. So he had a very good Achilles lock, and he also had like some heel hooks. And so him and I just did lots and lots of training together, starting to just work on different leg locks and things like this.
What made you think that was a good avenue, like technical avenue to pursue?
It was literally like, and that's what I mean by when I was talking about culturally. Like the reason I started working on leg locks was because grappling industries, like the division I was signing up for, it said I had to know heel hooks. I'm like, fuck, I don't know much about heel hooks. I need to practice this, and that was the reason why I started practicing leg locks. It wasn't for any reason like where I felt like, oh, there's an edge here,
right?
And that's what I mean by I think. Like when you have everyone like sort of working on something, then you're going to produce like a few select people that are going to be standouts globally.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like the rule set sort of dictated the style a little bit, right? You know, the fact that you could apply these submissions, and we're talking about rotational leg locks in that sense, impacts the way people approach the sport, and then people realize, okay, I'm going to get caught with these if I don't know anything about it, and that leads to that development of that style.
Yeah.
Right. Out of curiosity, and you know, because both of you guys have trained, you know, with Lachlan and then overseas at B Team, you know, is there differences that that you notice in
Not
teaching
you,
styles? Sorry, Freddie, you're excluded from this one.
That's all right.
But I'm curious about like the I guess the different sort of teaching methodologies that you guys have come across, and I guess influences in your own styles of teaching as well, because you guys obviously run your own classes, run your own seminars, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just curious about who's influenced you guys.
This is something I've thought about a lot about lately, and I think there is different styles of teaching, but for the most part, when I see what's successful, more or less, they have like very similar commonalities. Is just not over-engineering on techniques, making sure there's some aspect of drilling and being exposed to a lot of different things, a lot of positional training, and just generally as well, like being able to integrate like a certain level of intensity in your training, not going too hard all the time, not going too light. Like I think we're at a stage in the sport where there was probably more styles of teaching, but again, like similar to the styles of grappling, I think like the teaching sort of converging a little bit.
Yep.
You'll see some people who have got a very different style of teaching, but they're just simply not producing athletes. Like I feel like for the most part, like what you're seeing successful with a lot of different gyms is they're generally producing athletes and also using a very similar method of training.
Today I noticed when we went to the live portion of training, you got us to do the open rounds first and then the positional. Was there any thought behind that?
Yeah, this was just some things talking to Craig about. So the idea behind it is we do open rounds first and then doing positional training at the end, because realistically, when you're competing, you're generally going to be placed in these bad positions when you're already tired.
Yes.
So, it's when you get someone like taking your back in like an ADCC style competition, you don't have a moment to prepare yourself, settle your defensive grips and things like this. It's generally going to be you're getting threatened with strangles proactively while they're taking your back, and you're already going to be generally pretty tired. So that's why today we're working positional training at the end, but also starting from, say, turtle, the person having a hook in and a seatbelt, rather than starting double-seated with both hooks in. So the idea is that the person is actively taking your back and threatening submissions, and it's just allowing you to recreate a more realistic sort of situation. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Craig's always very innovative. He's not afraid to
try new things. He's very forward thinking. I was able to just ask him about different things, and he was just talking to me about like different things that he sees in successful coaching in different sports. And for the most part, like a lot of the things come across, a lot of the things we're potentially already doing in training. I'd say like a lot of it is more just fine tuning now at this stage. Like I think there would be a difference between doing positional training at the end versus before, but then you're also seeing a lot of successful gyms that are doing positional training first and then their open rounds. So I think for the most part, it just seems more like just your best training is going to come from doing positional training.
Cool.
But I do think like how you exactly set it up is more to do with fine tuning and making sure you're actually just picking the correct positions.
Yeah. And then what about you, Bobby? How, I guess in terms of your own teaching style, what are the influences there, and what are the things that you have sort of, made you think about, how you try and deliver information?
There's a lot of things I'll just do verbatim from like excellent world-class coaches. So if something Nicky Ryan's showing me, I will just literally verbatim parrot it back out. And if I'm teaching something that other people have, people are very knowledgeable and I respect their opinion. Like even if Jeremy shows me something versus you show me something, Freddie, I'm going to be taking it with a fucking tablespoon of salt.
But like even on that, actually, sorry to cut you off. I think there's like factors to coaching that people probably don't consider all that much, and like these are different things I've thought about a lot more recently. Is probably actually one of the biggest factors when it comes to coaching, that has an impact on someone's ability to pick up a technique is not actually their actual technical knowledge. It's actually going to be their charisma.
Yeah.
If you have two people showing the same technique, like you could have vastly different outcomes in terms of who's picking it up based on how charismatic the presentation is.
Yeah.
This is just something I've just noticed in general, I've seen coaches who have got absolutely amazing technique, but very little charisma in their delivery. And so you'll see people just getting bored by the end of it and not really taking on board, or even just simply feeling the motivation from the instruction to be like, exactly, the passion to be like, oh, like this is really good knowledge. And it's like, it's not from them actually seeing like some sort of deep insight to like what the coach is showing, but just them feeling it from the coach in the way they're presenting it. And that can have a pretty big impact on someone's enthusiasm to try and implement what's being shown to them. So I think like this is actually surprisingly quite a big factor, is just like presentation.
100%.
If I'm showing someone the rear naked choke, I go, guys, this is revolution in hand-to-hand combat. This is the most powerful stranglehold submission. This is it. This is as good as it gets.
The pinnacle.
I get the lion killer. I get crazy on people. You know what I mean? Mata Leon. I start talking Portuguese. You know, because and the other thing is the prerequisite for communication. Any type of a person, a crowd, two people, I have to be able to hold your attention. That's I think the benefit of going to comedy open mics. You go to a comedy open mic. Okay, end goal is make people laugh. But before they can laugh, they have to want to listen to you. You can say the funniest thing in the world. If the guy didn't listen to it, he doesn't care. Yep. So just being able to hold people's attention, and then after you can hold their attention, build interest. Just, like basic public speaking, strategically using pauses, looking people in the eye, making your tone, volume, things different.
Yeah, and I think this like plays into like performance. You hear like a lot of guys speak about John in the sense that like they almost want to impress them.
I remember 2017 or 2016, I did a seminar with him, and it was like a cult. I was like, bro, I could drop everything and just follow this man around right now.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. People are like hanging on like hanging on for like every word that he's about to say when he's teaching. And I think like that is actually like a huge a huge aspect of it. Is like, because you could have like, say, like a lot of like John's students show the same thing, but people aren't going to latch onto it the same way because they don't have the same presentation that he has. And I think this can be enormous for teaching.
Yeah, he brings a real presence to the room, doesn't he? It's almost like an aura.
A mystique, like he's like a character that, and like if they want, it's like I heard guys like Ethan and all that stuff saying like, it's like you want to impress him. Like you do something good, you look at him and see if he noticed. You know what I mean? And whilst that seems weird and like it's a little culty,
no,
right?
it is weird.
Who's the most charismatic person you've met? Craig said to me, it's for him it was Alex Jones.
I was gonna say,
he said he met Alex and they were at a set or something, and he had a couple of very nice looking gals with him, and we might have to cut this out later. I'll tell you later. I'll have to confirm what makes that message. See if it's going. But he put his hand around two women and was like, I could repopulate the earth with you women.
I think you might have said this to me before,
I was like, wow, the confidence.
My answer is going to be a little less creepy, but actually one of the most charismatic people I've met is probably Keller.
Keller, yes.
100%.
Really?
He oozes charisma.
He's very impressive.
Yeah,
Very
he's
impressive
got a presence
individual.
when he comes into the room. When he communicates with people, you really like when he's talking one-on-one with people. Like you really feel like he cares when he's talking to you. When he teaches, his presentation's fantastic. He really just brings an aura around him when he's like trying to organize a room.
Yeah, well, I was saying this to Keller the other day about the culture that he's built here is because of him. And yes, like you need the right people to also come in and join that culture, right? Because it's one of those things like, as with anything, it's the energy in the room and that's from the collective, right? Like it's the people that come into the room that give their time, their energy into training and all that sort of stuff.
There's
that
a guy
helps to develop the culture.
Enzo's. See this, Matt's here? He'd go off in here. Everyone knew he had severe mental health issues, but for the most part, he would be an ordinary person like Freddie or myself or Johnny, Every once in a while he'd go
like
off
how you excluded Jeremy there. But
into the toilets, and then he would look over in the corner and you'd see, imagine a person just emerged from here out the doorway jerking off furiously.
What?
Because he would have, we're talking about the people, the aura they're bringing to life.
That's
so what did they do, Bobby? Did they beat you up?
No, how dare you?
Yeah.
How
Did he go to
dare
prison?
you? How dare you?
God.
They actually didn't get rid of the guy because they understood that he wasn't really responsible for this, and for the most part he would do well.
Yeah, but the problem is who's responsible?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't have that.
No, you can't.
Like,
have
like,
that.
that's like now it's like,
I don't care what gym you run.
like
That's against the law.
Like-
mental health awareness.
this is
mental
now
health.
starting to get into
Are
like
you
some
okay?
sort of like practical implications of like ethics, but it's
Yeah.
like at a certain point, no one is responsible for the actions they take, because
Well,
they're-
obviously,
they've got the brain chemistry
obviously,
that's
we
gonna,
can't
like,
have
drive
that
them.
happening.
But-
In
but-
saying that if he does it once a year, are you gonna be like,
Yeah,
Yes.
no.
no,
yeah.
if 364 days a week?
But you can make that case
Yeah.
for so many things.
Because
Yeah.
no, because
No,
what?
it's
Because
just-
you know
it is
what?
not acceptable.
No, when he's in that state, it's usually it's to do with medication, and you can tell his eyes are rolled back, and you just have to kind of grab him and take
I've
control of the
banned
situation.
I've banned people from my class for far less. Like Keller and I were talking about this the other day. If I was running this gym, there'd be like 2 people left here,
Whoa, whoa.
And I wouldn't be one.
and Freddie
Bobby,
would Freddie wouldn't be here.
You and me wouldn't be here, Bobby. Let's be honest.
Am I?
We'd be out of here.
I don't
quick.
want to be in your little camp,
Yeah.
but
Well, look, it's
I-
I'll tell you a story.
I
right?
would conform.
This is something that happened to me when I was in. I was traveling when I was still working in order, and I went on a trip somewhere. I think I was in Adelaide, right? And you know when you fly into, you want to go. First thing you do when you get off the plane is usually go to the bathroom, right? I go into the men's bathroom, and all the urinals are full, so I was gonna go use the normal toilet, and there was one door that was unlocked, and I tell you what, I opened the door, and there's a dude fucking looking at me, beating off,
Oh my god!
looking at me in the eyes when I opened the door.
Oh my
and I
God.
just turned around. I said, "Fuck this! I'm out!" Like I just left the bathroom, didn't do anything, and just walked out.
I thought that was actually pretty implied of you not to say hello to me.
But so
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
my experience.
Oh
Like
my
when
God.
you come across that. Now, granted, that guy, whether he's got mental health,
Bro,
issues
I
or
would
whatever,
see that shit
I do
in
not
Austin.
care.
I would see
Right?
it. I would see a fair bit. I would see people on the street. There's one guy at the back of B team, man. He was like a tall, shredded black dude. And my God, he had a dick on him. My
We've all met
God, he had a fucking hammer.
We've all
And
met
his
Hyson.
forearm was so long, and it was crazy because he'd actually been doing it for a long time beforehand. And I
What?
swear,
How did you know?
Whoa.
because Sir Craig had come out in the morning, seen
Harry
him,
made
and, then-
$20.
and like put on like made a video and like where Craig's talking and they zoom into the background. Instagram took it down, even though it was blurred. They took it down because you could tell what was going on. And I was joking because I was like, oh, I think he probably would have saw Vince and restarted, And you have to know who Vince is for that to work.
Very handsome man.
Very handsome man. Anyway, that guy,
Built
bro,
like a
you would see
Viking.
people doing
Oh, I know who this is.
the
yeah.
homeless. There's actually a guy, I think Brian Simpson, who's a regular at the club, at the comedy mothership. He said that in Austin there's the homeless people, and then there's fucking ghouls. Ghouls. There's people who are so far gone into just chaos and the dark side. You're not getting them back.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like what is it? Fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl. Like that's just like out of control over there, and that's just
Yeah.
not a problem we have here.
I know.
Yeah.
There's
Not
giant billboards,
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Cameron,
Advertised
18,
everywhere.
dead. And I was
Yeah.
like, brother.
What?
It's out of control there. It's insane.
Wow.
Like, and it's like basically
But-
an unheard of issue here.
But
Wow.
I hear that. But you got to listen to always the other side of the political argument. $20 for a bag. In today's economy with rising interest rates and stuff,
Yeah.
at least someone's thinking about the people. You know what I mean? Vote Republican. Fuck this shit. Fuck this shit, man.
None of us can vote Republican. We live in
Government.
Australia.
Yeah, that's it.
Bro, if I could,
Well,
if I could change a few things to get a green card and shit, bro, I would go get a fucking long black gun, big fucking thick.
I'm gonna pull you up. I want to circle back to Jeremy's
Rifle.
rules. So because there's a bunch of probably unspoken rules that people have been breaking. Let's put them on the table.
Yeah, let's actually.
Let's
hear
Well,
put
that
them on
was
the table.
one of them. Bobby's out.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I can't have a gun?
You're
Second Amendment rights. I'm a fucking American.
I don't know. Just if people are just annoying.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Yeah.
So okay, hang on.
Just
Wow.
annoying. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
no,
very
I think
harsh,
annoying's enough.
Jeremy. I'm annoying.
Outrageous.
You're annoying at times.
Yeah, I know. I told you a
Ooh.
long time. I told you before. You'd be out of here a long time ago.
Whoa, Freddie.
I potentially even ban myself. I annoy myself sometimes.
Fair enough.
Well, we know. Okay, so in terms of these unspoken rules, so to speak, obviously you can't wear spats on their own. That's one, right?
Correct.
Whatever. If
thank
they let
God,
women
nah.
do it, actually no. Because then I'm thinking I'm gonna wrestle with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
can't
So
get
no way.
I think courtesy
I can't
shots
get off.
are a
But
must.
spats
Yeah.
and leggings are two different things, right?
No.
Is it, no, hold on.
I mean,
Spats are a thinner material worn under.
no,
leggings
spats are a thicker material.
Oh, are they? I was thinking women's leggings are thicker. Okay, wow.
Jeremy knows.
This was like a rule that like Giles had at Absolute
did,
after
yeah.
like someone like sort of flaunting the rules for too like pushing the limits on like what's acceptable for too long, and he made it that everyone has to wear shorts. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's a pretty good rule. And then like when I came here and started coaching, like that it wasn't a rule here, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to make rules for the gym. And then like one day someone like decided to switch from like they did one session earlier where they had shorts and their spats on, and then they were like, all right, they're super sweaty, so they took their shorts off and they're training just the spats, and there was just like you could just perfectly clearly just like see their penis like through the spats. And I'm like, well, all right, this is where the rules come in now. I'm like, you know what, you've ruined it for everyone.
It depends on who the guy is, I guess.
No, it doesn't. Bobby.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You gotta make cultural accommodations.
But like, I try and like.
Okay, what if it
just
was
be-
a small Asian man? Would you still?
Yes,
The band.
because it's
Yeah, you
uncomfortable for the other.
Yeah, you just make it
students.
common, right?
Yeah,
No, I think it should be based on racial groups.
So I can roll in with just my spats because
You
I'm
free
Asian,
pass,
you know?
brother. You basically, nothing. I'm gonna be.
Did you end up telling that person, Jeremy? Like,
Yeah, I just told him straight away. I'm like, nah, not on. I'm like, just go put shorts on.
You're also like this with people that
You
grapple.
gotta have. Luke Martin said to me, he goes, Bobby, the only difference between us and the animals is our rules.
Yeah, it's true.
That and opposable thumbs.
That's another one.
Opposable thumbs.
Opposable? What does that mean?
Like they.
Like you can.
Guess you're an animal then, Bobby.
Yeah.
Bro, I was once in a seminar. It's like my first seminar. Elvis Sinisic was teaching it. I didn't even have a rashi back then. I'm like 15. And Elvis goes, he's in Mount. He's talking about like pinning hands. But this is back before the whole Gordon switch it up. Everyone did like double thumbs down, double palm away. And he's like shaking and he's like, so guys, this is an anatomical principle. You cannot touch your radius to your like clavicle. And I was so skinny at the time that I could do it.
Wait, I didn't get what you mean.
It was like your wrist bone to your shoulder or some shit.
Oh,
So he's like making that happen to like help pin the arm.
Everyone's trying to.
And I
don't
tried
know
it, and
quite know what he means.
I could do
I
it,
just
or I was
know I
close.
can't do it.
So I was gonna put my hand
Poor
up
shoulder mobility.
and share to the seminar how I was different. And he kind of noticed, and he's like, "This guy's gonna say something smart ass." And he goes, "Everyone except for teenage girls and men with no muscle mass."
Oh.
I put my
He gave
hand
it to
down.
So you can still do it then, right?
Look at that! I want the camera.
It's a natural man.
Oh,
right
fuck! I
there.
think we have to
what
zoom.
we're looking
We have
at
to
is
do a zoom.
some skin and some bone.
So I was wrapping this around your neck a moment ago.
You got me with the mandible
Like
a couple of
fucking,
times.
I felt like
Man.
a British
The Matalena.
fucking governor myself. I felt like I caused some little.
All I
Okay,
could
I
feel
better
was the
stop.
bones in your arm across my face. That's why I tapped.
Yeah, well,
Do you have a blade?
actually, Jeremy got very real with me later. I don't know if it was recording, but he was like, "You could have been a Heisen, but you fucked off a little bit, and now that's."
He said
circling
it
in my
earlier.
head a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Wherever Heisem is, it's just like a cold shiver down your spine.
Yeah.
Thinking about
Yeah,
the less worn path.
this is a belief. I don't know how this is true, but I've taken this on. But Sam Harris, he says that if you were to rewind time and go back to a specific, let's say, I don't know, 5 years ago, this time, this date, and you would think, oh, I wish I could have done that differently. He goes, you couldn't have done it any differently because what you did, the actions you made, it has something to do with the present state of the previous state of the universe, because that the chain of causality is what causes each next action to happen. So there's no, according to him, there's no rational basis for regret. It's a good way to comfort yourself.
You have a lot of these like little quotes of
He loves Sam
genius.
Harris.
Sam is my-
mentally wise.
Yeah.
Sam,
Yeah, mentality wise.
I'm gonna spend a week with anyone on this planet.
Sam Harris.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bobby's a big fan of waking up with Sam Harris and
waking up.
But like, what would you be able to learn from him that you already haven't learned from listening to like his podcasts and stuff? Don't you think that'd be a waste of a week? Wouldn't you want to pick someone that doesn't have podcasts that you'd have access to?
But I get to. You're right. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I guess I get to know the person, but that's like the same for Craig. Like I know him as a person, but why do I really want to interact with Craig? So I can. I mean, obviously, he's a guy. He's a human being. You should be polite. But I want to get better at jiu-jitsu or get better at things. And you don't necessarily need to have a personal relationship with the person to have access to their like knowledge, like so, which is what you're saying. So what would I do? Who else would I pick? Well, you're saying I should pick someone
I feel like you
Doesn't
should
have a
pick
lot of
someone that
content.
like you wouldn't normally have access to,
like
like
Putin.
someone that's not putting out like a bunch like.
Putin.
no, I don't know. I said Putin.
Who would you say, Jeremy?
Who would you say, Jeremy?
Fuck, that's a good question.
It's a tough one, right? You put out the question. You got to have a think about the answer. Right?
I'd have to have a think about this.
Yeah.
Don't they say that we're always like 5 points of connection away from anybody?
Yeah, I think it's the 6.
5 points of connection is
it's
a
six-
lot.
Yeah, well, it's 6
Like,
degrees.
that makes it
60
sound like
degrees
it's not like
separation.
that far, but it's actually like quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that before, and I was like, "Wow, so close." And today, you've totally shifted my perspective.
Well, like that's like actually heaps.
What?
That's like
I just mean like 5 people.
Even if
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know
I know,
somebody
no,
who
I
knows
know,
someone,
I know.
separation.
even 2 or
Yeah.
3 is too much.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
like that's actually
3,
quite a
man.
lot of
But
like,
one
Three's
one
really a
is, you know, 1 is the same as 0.
like think of it like this.
If you say to me-
whoa, what do you mean 1 is the same as 0?
If you say to me, hey Bobby, I need a cheap mechanic, I would refer you to my cheap mechanic. You would say, hey, I'm Bobby's mate. You would probably get the same deal as me. My support network is the same as your
Like-
support network.
Like think of it like this, like
Almost.
Freddie, how many
I don't
people
know,
do you
maybe
know?
not for
Do
every-
you, like
Nah.
just probably just like broadly, probably a couple of thousand people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Each of those people knows a couple of thousand people. It's
Yeah,
like
of course.
now,
Yeah.
like the orders of magnitude. It's like
Yeah.
it-
I can think of anyone in the world and think of a way I can get to them.
Yeah.
Like through people. Literally.
Jesus.
Yeah, literally.
How would,
but like by the time you get like two people deep, it's like it's a complete stranger.
it's a complete
Yeah.
stranger.
Like actually, I
Yeah,
mean, like as soon as you
100%,
get, yeah, like
That's the same reason why I shouldn't say weird shit about Lex Friedman, because he might think I'm actually
He did
weird.
Yeah,
come to
you're
B
like
team one
1
time.
point of connection away from him.
Oh,
you came to B team one time with Hodger.
thank you. I've actually been taking that on and off the whole time. Do you think I have any sort of
ADHD.
yeah?
Yeah.
You got something.
You think so?
I think we all have a bit of.
I don't. Okay, you're gonna be careful what to say these days. I don't know. I think you you listen to a lot of these symptoms, and I'm like, this sounds like fucking regular human behavior.
Yes.
Inability to pay attention to what you're not interested in. Tell me, find me a man who can do that without a financial incentive, by the way, which changes your fucking will regardless. I don't know. That's something I think about a lot. Is like volition. You form different intentions, and you'll often like live weeks or years of your life based around a certain intention. And then how does that form? And is there like what is the cause of that?
I don't know, but I feel like podcast listeners don't want to listen to that.
I feel like Bobby's.
Alright.
He's still peaking from
I
his,
mean-
from his smoke session earlier.
Am I fire off, John?
Isn't
Yeah,
that
I'll look at, you know, there'd you know, some people like to.
whatever? Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Let's roll around. And shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask you actually. What do you think about technical question? If you're playing
that's a
bottom
good
position grappling, and you're pinned up against a cage,
Yeah,
someone's on top of you.
Shit.
What would you? Yeah, what would you? What's
Like, are they striking?
yeah?
Oh, that's
So you're
fucked.
talking
I
about
mean, you're
your-
probably going to get finished.
Do you
Yeah.
think you're
Like, I feel like-
what do you
like-
think you can do?
Like, pretty much, I feel like
Cage
the
walk
only
up.
thing I've seen in MMA that works like is just turtling.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to turtle and then like walk yourself up the side, the cage.
Can't really play close guard against the cage, huh?
You can't,
no,
because they shove your head against
yeah,
the against
yeah,
the wall.
you get like so like your spine gets so compressed. Like
I had
'Cause
Freddie
the
up
main-
against the wall today.
if we're gonna talk like technical. When you're playing close guard, you want to have the ability to like turn
Create
your body
space.
and make angles on your opponent,
Correct.
like moving off to the side.
Correct.
And when they pin your shoulders against the fence, you lose that ability to make an angle.
Yeah. And it's a free neck crank if you think about it. When you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you got a 90-degree angle that's between the ground and the wall, and if you're like that and you're stuck in that position, the
Wow.
other guy's
That's why
stacking you.
Bobby got a rib removed.
That was for
Wow.
something else.
I'm surprised with the length of your torso that would help. You might need to get 2 or 3.
Brother, I can invert these legs can go up far. I'm telling you. I will tell you another story off the air about that.
I was gonna say like ask you. You had a question for me before we did the podcast, but I think you're too stoned to remember what
How
it was.
dare you? No, I was going to ask
It's
you
a
about structuring. So obviously,
Oh yeah, actually. Oh yeah, that was. that
most
was the
people
question,
come
that's
in
it.
and they're basically teaching random techniques. What's your idea in terms of structuring training programs?
I go back and forth on this. Like I've got this is something more recently where I would plan out ahead of time, like topics for the week. And I've got a spreadsheet where I've got sort of like a list of the broad sort of positions or like topics that you could cover, and I've color coded them like, and that makes it sound more autistic than what it is, but it's more like the reason I do it is because it's like I basically sort of broke them up into like 6 categories, and the reason for it is like so I don't actually have to like read through what I've like covered before in class. Like basically what I'll do is I'll have like a list of like week 1 we did this, week 2 we did this, week 3 we did this, and then I've just got like next to it like the table that has like the broad topics color coded, so I can just look at the list and just go like, what color haven't we done in a while, and then I just like I pick a topic like based in that color. But that's like broadly like making sure my thought on this is that there's only there's so many topics in jiu-jitsu to cover, and like I'd say across a either 1 year or 2 year period, especially when you've got like a mixed room, you sort of want to expose everyone a little bit to every single like important topic that there is to cover.
Yes.
Like if you spend too long on a particular topic, like you're losing out on opportunities to get exposed to other things. And the way I see it is like you want to sort of touch on a topic and then leave it up to people and be there to support them on people that do want to go deeper into specific topics. And that's where like, you know, going through positions with people at the end of the class is important, and having a variety of positional training. But then on the flip side of it, it's like, you know, sometimes like I'll have weeks where I'm just showing different things across the week because like certain areas you want to show something that you think is cool or interesting, but it doesn't warrant a whole week on the topic.
Yeah.
And then through the week, generally the way that I do it is I have the broad topic, and it'll sort of just depend on how people are responding to a technique or like the techniques through the week, whether or not I'll show the same techniques again, show something new. Like even within a certain class, it might be like, I'll show some stuff. I'll see how everyone's going with it. And if like they're doing terrible with it, I'm like, all right, we're going to go a little bit deeper into this. If they're all generally breezing through it, I'll show more in the technique. If they're just doing like, okay, I'll just sort of show what I had planned. It does like, you got to have like a little bit of flexibility with it.
I'm finding that because, I mean, I'm not exactly sure your training schedule split. Because I'm going to many different gyms and I'm not spending long periods of time in a given gym, unless I've given someone like, hey man, I want you to work on this thing and we're going to continually try to develop skill in this key area, it's easier, kind of what the way you're saying it is to teach along the length of jiu-jitsu. So maybe a pass, some guard, something from the standing position. And then unless it's a seminar or unless there's a specific, I've been told, okay, this guy, everyone got their guard pass with outside passing from this tournament. So we want you to do a deep dive. I'm generally teaching more along the length. And like you said, that's
you try and coach to like the broader room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like you said, hey, I'm going to do an extra portion. And I think that also should only be for people who are more serious. Because otherwise, a lot of people, they don't want to do excessive amount of technique. They're not going to extract value from it. Or they'll ask questions that even take away for other people. Some question that's, okay, brother, you don't know what side control is? Let's get you. You don't need to be asking questions. You need to be questioning. You know.
Bobby, do you take notes and do that sort of stuff? Because I know Jeremy's like you're very what's the right word, conscientious with your note taking, right? And I also, I think when we spoke last, you also will go back through and then sort of redistill things as well, right?
Yeah, like I'll just reference things again and I'll try and bring them back in, play around with it more, and then like sort of like reconsolidate notes and things like this.
Yeah. So Bobby, do you do that or?
I do some. I'm nowhere near as much as Jeremy and level of organization and whatnot. I have a lot of like notes folders in my phone, but I also mentally I'll like, because this is something Luke told me to do before I went to B team. He was like, hey, go up to Ethan and be like, hey dude, how do you get out of mount? How do you take the back? What do you do in this position? So then I have kind of folders in my head of, okay, Nikki's go-tos from this or this. And then Nikki Rod does this. And then Craig does this. And that way I can kind of have, because then sometimes there'll be like so many options. I was having this for a bit where I was like, okay, cool. How do I defend a single leg? I had like 12, 15 options. And then by the time I was like looking through my, phone book of different options, the guy would just, run the pipe, and now I'm flat on my hips and my options mean dick. So I was like, okay, my strengths are whatever. Let's say my strength is straight, ashy, outside heel hook. So then my go-to will always be dive into straight ashy position. That's going to be my go-to. And then depending on the specific opponent or rule set, I'll make a strategic adjustment.
Yeah.
This particular person is more vulnerable to like cross ashy, saddle, 50-50 type positions.
Yep.
Then I'll just have that in mind. Or this rule set doesn't incentivize playing bottom, you need to stay on top. I might go for a more wrestling style, stay on top way of doing things. Like, so in terms of just collecting information, I'll put things in it. Let's say, because I'm trying to make good seminars, I might think, okay, what are the core things for, like, because I think more in terms of not just delivering information, but via which methodology could someone actually turn these into like tangible skills. So the objective is like, let's say, pass from half guard, or finish from the back, or finish from closed guard. And then it's okay, what piece of information are necessary? Like, more than what knowledge takes priority? What knowledge could they even, like, it's not really a make or break detail, because there's so much to show you. You could just go nuts. And it's like, then you just showed too much and they got nothing out of it.
That's what we were talking about before about like looking at like different coaching methods. That seems like a big thing. I mentioned like over engineering. There's like a bit of like a sort of like dilemma there where you don't want to over engineer a technique and like have so much detail that it's so difficult to implement every single aspect of it. So you want to simplify it, but you don't want to simplify it so much that you're getting to a point where it's like it goes the other way. It just doesn't work in the other direction. You make something so simple that it's just not functional. Like it just doesn't work. You over engineer something, or like you add so much detail that the technique becomes too fragile, and it also just doesn't work when a little bit falls apart. Like, you need to find like a happy medium where it's like, these are the like core critical ideas to make like this technique or to win in this position. And then everything else on top of that is just like a bonus. Like you just don't want to overcomplicate it.
That totally resonates. Yeah. And there's something I've spoken to Giles, other guys about too, is like, what's the balance? And then it's also like, I'm sure you come into the room and you notice, okay, these guys, they already have a lot of the bases covered. And now we're going to, I'll even open up to people. I'm like, hey, what do you guys want to work on? What do you want to see? Because that's the other thing is the difference between giving someone real tailored coaching versus just generic. Okay, these are the strategies and tactics that have proven to be high percentage at the highest levels of competition.
I think there's like heaps of different like little things we could like unpack here with like different types of coaching. Like, even just like what you're talking about there. Something I've been thinking about. Obviously, I've got to see how it's going to play out in practice. But reducing the amount of drilling time, because I don't think, I think like drilling to just get like a feel for the technique is sufficient. I don't think there's much to be gained from like trying to repeat it a bunch of different times. And I'm not even like talking about to the extreme of like when you see like guys like repping out like 100 different times. I mean, like, I think like you need to just rep it out like maybe like even just like 3 times. You're like, all right, I got a feel for this, and then like you're starting to play around with it, get a bit of resistance. And if you're just like not able to really implement a technique straight away, I don't think it's worth beating your head against the wall for it. I think like this is why another reason why as well I don't think it's worth like spending a whole month on a position, because if that position isn't working for a person in the room and they're just like not picking it up, it's like this. I don't think it's worth them beating their head against the wall. I think it's worth like they just do a little bit. If they pick it up, great. If not, come back around to it later. Like give them like a month or something like that, and then like revisit it later, and then now see if they pick it up. This seems to be more of like a practical way of starting to implement some of these things.
That's awesome.
I think that's it's interesting that particular methodology, because in any given room, when you guys show a technique, there'll be people that will get it and be able to implement it into their game straight away, and there'll be other people that'll be like, oh, I don't know what's going on in this position.
Yeah, and I think this is another reason as well, like covering a large number of topics through the year. Like, say there's 52 weeks in a year, so I cover 52 topics. I don't think every student needs to do every single, like obviously I aim to and hope that people pick something up every single class, but I don't think it's realistic to expect that someone's going to pick up everything that you show. But as long as they're picking up something, they're exposed to a little bit of everything, so they sort of know what the landscape of jiu-jitsu is, but they come away, like say for example, like each week, like maybe in like a single class, like I'd like it, like if I show 5 techniques, I'd like it if they could like, pick up all 5 of them. But if they come away with one technique every single time, and like they've got like one solid thing they can look for from each position that comes up, it's like, I think like over time you can develop a pretty well-rounded game. Yeah. Like I think like long term you want to be very well rounded, but I think you're better off having like a select few very confident options. that you know that you can implement, and like that'll go a long way. And the idea is to then add on top of that over time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the high of doing well at comedy. I think that's probably the highest high that you get in a responsible manner. But competition, I hate. I never even like winning. I'm
Even
like,
when you
it's a
win,
little bit of-
competition's still not that fun.
Yeah, I'm like fuck everything that's behind, and you obviously have experienced that at higher levels than myself. But just teaching, man, I'm like, if I could just make a living doing this, like,
Yeah, teaching's fun.
this is a beautiful, like you said, it has a bit of that, almost like altruistic in the sense of you're growing someone else. It's less selfish. You can really, and you can also be, jiu-jitsu can be such a good influence. I'm kind of getting away from the technical kind of things in terms of development.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, like, because there isn't, like, like with weightlifting, it's so definitive and easy to track progress. And in jiu-jitsu, particularly if you got the same training partners and everyone else is improving, and everyone knows this kind of issue with jiu-jitsu progression, understanding, what are some good yardsticks for being able to measure, am I actually getting better? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's where like competition like works well. I think especially like lower levels, it's very easy to feel like you're not improving. I
Yep.
think like once you start hitting purple belt level, you get like a bit of a sense of like what it feels like to actually be improving. Even if you're staying competitive with your training partners, you'll feel like you'll be able to tell like how like different positions are playing out in slightly different ways. And then like it feels a bit more of like an arms race there. But at lower levels, it can easily feel like, I'm just not improving at all. And that's where I think like training with completely brand new people can really show you like, I have like come a long way.
Yeah.
But also competing as well, I think, like, because then you can look at like where you're standing on the relative landscape of jiu-jitsu compared to just like other people doing it at other gyms. So I think like there's a few ways you can try and do it. But I think the easiest way, like this is actually like something Hoist Gracie said to me like years and years and years ago. He was like, if you have like a day of jiu-jitsu where you're like, oh, fuck, I feel terrible. He's like, go roll with a white belt.
Yeah.
You'll feel pretty damn good quickly.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, you know what, actually, I'm not so bad. Like this white belt,
100%.
like he's been training for a year. Like I might have been training for a couple of years. It's like you'll give yourself like a little bit of an ego bump.
What
And
do you think? Sorry. to
No,
interrupt
go
you.
ahead.
What do you think is the ideal ratio in terms of training with people you're better than, or they're better than you? You're getting smashed. You're getting a good fight. What do you think is a?
I think it depends a little bit on what you're doing. I think you want to have like a healthy mix. Like there's like the discussion of like Danaher and Joe Rogan. They're talking about like rolling with like majority people lower belts than you, and I think this is good. Another thing that I like to do, especially like when you're running the training room and like you know, presumably you're better than most of the people there,
420
is to then try and like like especially like you're like coach like trying to run the class is like if you really want to be like pushing yourself on like certain things is to try and play against someone's A game.
Yeah.
Like I think like this is like something that you can do, especially if you're like struggling to have like the sort of tougher rounds, and like majority of your rounds are going to be against people like
That's me. I struggle.
easier than you.
I find that tough. Everyone's like Freddie to me, like a woman. Yeah, I feel like I can have my way with you in any way I want.
Yeah, Freddie, who do you get your easy rounds?
Yeah, that's actually the struggle for me.
This
Is trying
guy's
to
getting
find
bullied.
someone that I'm actually better than.
Speaking of hard rounds, I'm looking at Hayden Limebeer over here.
Yeah, I mean I'm not looking forward to you doing 77.
This it
We're
should be
just talking
illegal.
about-
How are you doing 77?
Yeah. Hayden, come show
Yeah.
people on camera what you look like. Hayden's
Yeah.
actually also.
This is what I've got to contend with at
look at this.
77 in Singapore.
So Hayden's gonna do.
Let's
He
get
doesn't
it
even
up there,
fit
big guy.
in the frame. Look, he's just gonna push
He's
Freddie
gonna
off.
jump in. And then
He's-
not-
Freddie's
This is how
disappeared.
it would have happened back in the day too.
guys.
Hayden would have just come in and taken everything we owned.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hayden's gonna do
I've missed half
do
the
trials, and then 2 weeks after
Most-
you're fighting in Tahiti, is it?
Tahiti, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully
French
there's a
Polynesia.
French Polynesia, and if there's a live stream, we'll make sure that we post that up so that people
Yes,
can watch
absolutely.
Hayden. See, how long has it been since you competed in the cage?
Oh man, like over a year.
Over a year.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to see Hayden back in there and fresh off ADCC trials. If
You know, Hayden once absolutely molested me in a MMA sparring that I happened to just get caught up in somehow. I wouldn't even say I attended the class. And then I brought it up to Hayden, and it was so insignificant that we didn't even have the memory of it. Which for me has been a post-traumatic stress-inducing fucking memory that I've fucking, contended with for years. And, well...
Hayden's actually, when you we were sparring last Sunday or something for MMA, and I'm not going to give it away, but you're very unassuming on certain techniques that you wouldn't imagine a guy like Hayden should throw, and I was like, oh, this is
big man can move.
Yeah, the big man can move. So I am really excited for you to get back in the cage.
Too, man.
So yeah.
Breaking people's shoulders and shit.
I want to actually ask. So I got exposed to this only in the last week, right? And it really made me rethink.
This would be the craziest.
No, this is just talking. This is just talking about. We're still talking technical stuff about jiu-jitsu, right? But I was rolling with a guy named James Kang. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he competed against Isaac. He's sort of been a little bit off the scene for a little while.
Who is this guy?
Do you remember him, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've competed against
Oh,
him.
you competed against James? Yeah. So
What's his ethnicity?
Kang is Asian.
Oh, okay.
Kang
Kang is
is-
a Sikh last name also.
Really smart guy. He's got like a doctorate in something. But anyway, we were doing this really interesting style of drilling where it was almost sort of like, kind of like playing chess, where it was like move for move. And it sort of spun me out a little bit because I haven't played like that before. And I was just like, fuck, like this is actually really making me rethink where like initial grips, my grip sequences, what am I actually trying to achieve from these positions. Have you guys ever played around with that style of like going, just like grip for grip and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is like how I would actually like plan out like a lot of my note taking and things like that would be like rather like basically
Throw-
trying to like
Turn the mic towards you.
whoops.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like I would like plan out like drilling like sequences and things like this like is just assuming we're going to be going move for move rather than just I'm going to be just doing this then this then this then this.
Yeah.
Like and the idea is to plan out like okay, I'm going to do this and then like what's a logical response that the person might give, and sometimes it would be like they don't do anything, and like, but there will be like a reason for it, like maybe
You
they're trying
can't.
to work
You're
something
stacked,
else.
you're stacked in a dead zone.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
what I worked out. I was
Yeah,
like getting in
yeah.
these positions. I'm like, I actually fucked myself here. Like I inverted at the wrong
Hey,
time.
Jeremy, you ever smack somebody in the face?
Yeah, I mean,
Outside
yeah.
of
Whoa.
outside of a sexual, it has to be.
Yeah, it's when Freddie.
confrontational.
It's when Freddie doesn't behave.
He
Honestly,
said
I've
outside
had-
of a sexual.
I've had ukes where I very much sympathize with John's view on this. I've had ukes be so fucking retarded.
Actually, I think I slapped Owen once after one of his matches.
Whoa! Wait,
Whoa.
MMA
that was
matches?
a G.
No, it was a grappling match.
Oh.
What about in a fuck you like a Nate Diaz?
He just like let someone break his leg, and I slapped him, and I didn't slap him hard. It was just it was to be funny.
Have you ever like Nate Diaz slapped someone in the face?
Bang, stuck and
Yeah,
stuff.
Freddie.
Yeah.
I wish I did it more often working security. I would always shove people, double push in the chest, just to see if they're about it or not. But I feel like slaps could. I would have got into way more scuffles if I slapped.
Imagine you're in a line somewhere and then Bobby is in security.
Bro,
Like across the room.
I was trying to be all zen. These cunts don't let you be zen sometimes. There was like 100-man line outside this bar, and this kid, he had he wasn't a kid. He's fucking, I don't know, my age or whatever. These cunts were being retarded. We didn't let him in, and they were just causing a ruckus out the front. And he was talking to someone in the line, and I was like, "Mate, you got to go 100 meters up the road, whatever." And he just turned over to me and like very dismissively was like, "Fuck off!" And I just kind of lost my cool in that instance, and I just ran up.
Do you know who I am?
Well, no. What the situation was, he had quite a large, tall friend with him, and the whole time that guy was around, I was pretty polite. But at this point, the guy was like well and truly up the road.
Yeah.
So because I was
So
physically,
you managed to single him out.
yeah, I was like, brother, now you're the fucking wolf with the fucked up leg with no wolf brother. You know what I mean? Now you're a lone wolf, motherfucker.
wait, was this guy
And
disabled?
I'm Leonidas. I'm coming at you with a spear. Anyway, he looked me. I turned around. I looked him in the face, and he said something against. And I just all I did was I shoved him really hard, and he was drunk, and he fell back, and Whiplash's head smacked the cement.
Oh, man.
my god.
Bobby, you
And I
could have been
remember
up for
in
a
that
criminal charge
moment,
here.
totally freezing, and thinking that what happens next could determine the course of my life.
Yeah.
And thankfully, after a short pause, this guy sat up like the Undertaker. Bang! He sat up, and I was like, "Thank God." I mean, of course, at this point, his friend was bounding down towards us,
Yeah.
and I had to deal with that. But far out, I was grateful.
Don't get
I
on
didn't-
Bobby's
They're
bad
still
side.
looking
Kill
for
it.
the guy who killed that boy, and you've just admitted to it.
He's not. I would never admit if I'd actually killed the boy.
You just
How crazy do you think I am? I killed a boy in Melbourne.
Allegedly.
They've been looking for the culprit this whole time, Bobby, and you've just
Yeah.
admitted to it on the podcast.
Or whatever. You reckon you could kill someone? I thought I could kill an animal.
That's a confession.
I thought
yeah.
I'd be able to kill an animal, and I would be able to like.
You couldn't even kill a
I
house
think
cat.
But
Hayden could kill
I
an
was
animal.
actually wrong
What did you
because
say, Fred?
I think Hayden could kill an animal.
I have killed an animal.
What animal?
Yeah, but with a gun.
Yeah.
well, still, it's not easy to kill an animal with a gun.
Well, I mean, that's the
It
only
is
time.
weird. No, honestly, the first time you do it, it is a bit strange.
Odd feeling.
Like, it is an odd feeling.
I've never done it, except
It
for that
feels
one dog. No.
Reasonable if you're going to eat it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
It's
going
kind of
fishing.
fucked up if you do it for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's just life or death? You know, backs against the corner, you got to defend yourself. Like, what animal do you think you can actually take on that people would be surprised?
Probably
Apparently-
not many, bro.
People
Keller says
We've talked
Keller
about
says
this,
he
yeah.
could kill a cheetah.
No, and he's,
Keller can kill a
Keller's
cheetah.
not.
I'll probably take on a small
He's
dog.
36. The cheetah is 36 kilo, not Keller.
No, he means like
36 kilo Keller.
I think I'd struggle against a house cat.
yeah.
I'd
most people
fuck
would
up
struggle against
36
a house
kilo
cat.
A house cat would put on some
36
work.
kilo Kel, bro. I would be the judoka. Bam! Ogoshi. Uchimata. Arigato gozaimasu. Samurai spirit. Alright. Too much Japanese.
Look,
Bro, there's not a 36 kilo cunt on this planet.
Like this is
Who could
discussion I've
deal
had with
with-
Freddie though. Freddie thinks that he could start on the back of like an orangutan with a rear naked choke locked in and he
Yeah.
would win.
Freddie, bro.
He can't even beat
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Bro.
Because, like, he couldn't even finish me locked on my back with a rear naked choke.
If it's a fully locked RNC on the back, that chimp's got 3 seconds to get out.
No,
Two-
he-
No, he would
Does
pull
it
your
not?
arms.
Does it not?
Pull your arms off,
nose
bro.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen? He's going to
You
reach
would
for
be-
your eyes. You're going to lose an eyeball. He's going to reach
Look,
for your
I'm
balls.
not
You're
saying-
gonna lose your balls.
It's gonna be. It's
I'm
gonna
not
be
saying it's
horrific. It's gonna
100%
be horrific.
guaranteed I'm putting out the chimp,
What
but
He's going to bite your
I
forearm
think
and
I've
you're going to
got
let go.
I've got a good at least 30% chance.
Okay, what do you think now? Shield and spear, tiger.
You're fucked.
No, you're still
9
fucked.
foot.
You're-
9
you're-
foot long.
nah,
You're
still
big.
fucked.
You
You're
got-
still fucked.
Okay,
Not
okay,
full long
okay,
spear. You
okay.
don't think that
What
cat
about
can
cheetah?
dodge?
What about
You know what
cheetah?
I-
Cheetah,
like,
spear, and shield.
No.
Here's the biggest factor I feel.
No?
Cats are too
When it-
dangerous. Cats, not cats.
Spartan or something.
Here's the biggest factor when it comes to fighting animals that I feel like people forget
Psychologically.
about. Like,
Yeah.
The mental aspect of
Yes.
it is like
100%.
people
Yes.
get in pain and they give
Stop.
up.
Animals have no give.
I've seen a video of like a lion where it's like its
Yeah.
skull was exposed and it didn't stop fighting until it just
Life or
physically
death.
You
dropped.
don't reckon Freddie has that?
Like Freddy's,
You don't know what's in me.
Freddy's tapping the pressure and shit. He's like, I'm a lion.
yeah,
I'm a
people
lion.
give up long before that they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the part where you lose.
But life, that's the thing though. Life, there's some people. What do you? How do you
no,
think?
I think life and death. A lot of people just
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
I think they
I'd
just
give up.
accept it and
Yeah.
they give up. They're in
They
too
freeze.
much pain. They get too scared. They
think-
freeze.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
like you have the spear. You might wound the lion. He bites you once. A lot of people giving up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're right. You're right.
He scratches you
You're
once,
right.
and like
Yeah.
people are
Same
like,
thing,
I don't
bro.
want
A
this.
dog. Think about dogs take out cunts
Yeah, that's
because
what I
the
mean.
dog
Yeah.
takes
Think
when the
about,
dog
like-
is actually latched onto their forearm. Suddenly, Freddy's jokes don't seem so funny no more.
Yeah, like think about like a dog's
You're
pain
right.
tolerance
You're
just
right.
in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
dogs
right.
are crazy.
But the thing with the RNC, me being on the back of an RNC is I have all the
apparently,
confidence there.
If you grab a dog like this from the canine, then let's go.
Nah.
No, Bob, you want to fucking test it, bro?
Brother, I had John Gatt, the dog expert. I paid him a lot of money to come work with a puppy of mine way back in the day. This guy lived with dogs, with wild dogs. He told me, John Gatt told me, he goes, listen, you grab the 2 canines. You
I
press one. This is like Aikido master.
You know why I know this doesn't work? I've got a buddy of mine who has rescued like a bunch of pit bulls up in Canada. And
They're very well-trained dogs.
One time, they were just like something, like one of them like jumped on the back of another one, and it just caused all of them to get set off and fight. And one of the guys tried to jump in and pull them apart. One of the people turned around, bit the guy's leg. He dropped immediately, and they went back to fighting. Like people,
Wow.
people cannot take on animals.
Yeah.
Like that was one bite, and the guy
I've
dropped.
seen pit bulls the size of Freddie, so I'm not
No,
But you gotta, you gotta
so
measure
one of
up the right.
pitfulls this
The
guy has-
matchmaking is off.
Mate, you're talking about
Yeah.
going against like this
Yeah.
little bulldog pit bull.
No, no,
This is
no.
what you're talking
This-
about.
so-
No, this is what Bobby's trying
Yeah.
to say that we could beat.
No,
Not-
my
you might
Bob-
be able to beat that little sausage dog.
Not even.
I could take
Yeah.
sausage
Look,
down.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
I
have a
think
stance on
I
this.
feel like you
I'm
eat a sausage
this
that
is
goes
food for
feral.
thought.
I don't know.
Angry. I don't know, man. Maybe.
But we can't be
It's
the only
tall
animals
order.
that quit in us. There has to be other animals that have quit.
Animals?
Why are we like
Prey
this?
animals, bro.
Prey, you're right.
But I feel like prey animals.
Predator is a
We are
hardwired
a
cunt.
deer of-
I don't
You're
know.
a
I
gazelle,
think a
he's a
deer might
gazelle.
fuck some people up.
I
with
reckon
their-
a deer would fuck
yeah.
some people up.
Especially if they got their
Yeah.
antlers and they're in the right.
Fuck
Hard, you're
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
They're resilient as fuck.
No.
What is the most pussy animal?
Humans.
Freddy.
That's true.
For
Outside
sure.
of
hu-
humans.
He's
for
right.
sure.
Outside
He's
of
right.
humans.
Humans, yeah.
Outside
Don't
of
put
humans.
yourself down, bro. Relax.
Birds are pretty fucked.
Nah, birds.
Birds are
fuck
crazy.
birds.
Nah,
What do you
bro.
mean?
I've seen birds.
But if you snap a bird's wing off, what do you think it's gonna be like?
You,
gonna-
think,
it's
you, think
gonna
that
fuck you up.
you think that magpie is going to allow you to snap its wing off? Like, people have lost their eyes to fucking
Yeah.
magpies, bro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You got like a magpie, like one of the smallest birds. Like that's not even like a seriously considered dangerous bird.
What
and
is the
people are
best
scared
weapon
of them.
other than a gun for an animal?
a knife, a machete, I think.
Yeah, you need a
machete?
like something with a bladed edge,
No, you know what?
right?
You know,
So you can
honestly,
defend yourself, right?
It's more people
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
you're
having
right.
more
You're right.
people
Numbers.
to scare them off.
That's the interesting thing. So even though they fight to death, that's the other thing because they can't be taking hella risks all the time because there's no fucking healthcare system for them. So they're just like fuck, you know. There's no all of the wildlife is America basically.
It's like, is there any like hunting predator animals that will fight a group of prey? Like not just like picking off stragglers, but actually choosing to fight more than one on one.
No.
Like a
They-
genocide.
They know
So
the
That's
probabilities.
what I mean. I
Yeah,
think like,
whales and shit. I guess.
I think just having multiple people like to like push back against it is like
Well, that's
just
how
to deter them fighting.
that's how these water buffalo and a lot of other animals.
Yeah.
Elephant. You just like fuck. What am I gonna do? Elephant, brother. What a majestic animal the elephant is. Man, imagine how good it would have been to rip the tusks off some shit.
Oh my god, no, Bobby.
Build a nice cup holder. We could put our coffees in it.
All right, boys. I think we're going to call it because we've gone down. We've gone down to a dark rabbit hole of talking about animals and
have
people
a
fighting.
tail.
Now, guys, shout out. So,
It's
if you want to find Jeremy, how do you find Jeremy?
Jeremy Paul Skinner on Instagram.
And what is it? www.atomicdojo.
.com.au.
There you go. Freddie, how do people find you? Do you want people to find you?
Yeah. If you want to find me, if you want to see more
Freddie
of
might
this
find
beautiful
you.
face, it's just Frederick Daniel on Instagram. That's it.
And Bobby.
Bobby BWY, Sandhu, sand like the sand. SANDH. You BJJ. That's my Instagram. I got an instructional on Athletes Ocean. That's me, Hayden. Who?
Hayden Limebeer on Instagram. Very simple.
Yep.
That's
And
pretty much it.
yeah, so tune in like the guys. So Jeremy, Bobby, Hayden, you guys are all going to do ADCC trials in about 8 weeks. Hayden will be fighting a couple of weeks after that in French Polynesia. What else is coming up? You guys got any other fights, super fights, anything like that you want to?
I got a super fight. I think it's this month.
Yeah.
I should know. Freddie.
Nothing
might
much.
roll.
Oh yeah, I might do
might
tomorrow's
train
rounds.
this
I'll be.
I'll see if I'm gonna go live today, boys.
Out of curiosity, because
I'll flow roll.
I don't rock up all the time, but I
Nah,
remember
they
like
just
a lot of
shit
the
on
times when I rock up, right? Freddie's just there with a band, and he does
Yeah,
that.
bro.
He does that for
I-
the majority of the
To be
class.
fair,
Super Nation.
for a while.
Okay.
I just tore my
It's been
AC
6
joint.
months.
Yeah, but he still does that. He just doesn't use the band anymore. Now he just sits there.
Yeah, I just sit there doing
It
this
looked
with
like
a
this
band.
before.
I'm really
He
good
had
at this
rehab to
motion.
do before, and now he just sits.
Yeah, now I just sit. Yeah.
All right, we're done. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.